We're waiting for that. We're just waiting a few minutes for our legal counsel that's on his way.
The microphone over here.
It's on the table. I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 27th, 2026 meeting of the Highland Park Zoning Board of Adjustment. This meeting has been called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on March 24th, 2026, and was posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to the left and right of the council chambers. When speaking, please speak into the microphone so you can be clearly understood by all. Do the roll call, please.
Mr. Dickinson? Mr. Factor?
Present.
Mr. Pheasant?
Here.
Mr. Holsapple? Ms. Corbin?
Here.
Ms. Leslie? Present. Mr. Rothberg? Mr. Vining?
Present.
Ms. Walsh? Here. Mr. Winfrey? Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Cosenza?
Here.
Mr. Robinson?
Here.
Councilman Hale?
I ask you to all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anybody here that is present for a case that is not currently on the agenda? Okay, and we're gonna move right along. We'll just start with the two doctor.
Why don't we defer that until we after the public hearing?
Okay, so the case that we're gonna be hearing tonight is a new case. The Middlesex Water Company is the applicant, owner of block 103, lot 13 in Highland Park.
Councilors, you'd be good enough. Hold on. Yeah, if you'd be good enough to identify yourself. please.
Richard Skolnick on behalf of the applicant. Nice to see you, Mr. Thomas.
See you, sir.
I'm going to just hand the first exhibit out. I have a
little
little
opening thing.
opening statement. This may be helpful.
I don't care if it's little as long as it's short.
Okay.
You know, mark that as exhibit 1.
We're going to get to that in a second. I just wanted to get it out so we
Okay.
can try to move along as we can. Chairwoman, can I start?
Of course.
Thank
Yes,
you.
please.
Again, my name's Richard Skolnick. I have my own law firm and I'm representing the Middlesex Water Company. We're here for preliminary and final site plan approval. We also have some C and D variances. Chairwoman, as you mentioned, we're block 103, lots 11, 12, and 13. 11, 12, and 13. My client owns 13 and Rutgers owns 11 and 12. There's really no street address on this one. It's sort of called Cedar Lane Rear. As you'll come to know, it's sort of an in-between parcel. We're not proposing construction of any new buildings in Highland Park. It's really an entry road. We are asking for approval to relocate a storage shed that is on the Edison side of this project to move it into Highland Park within the required setback areas, but no new structures. I think the board appreciates this is really an application for an access road. We're going to refer to Edison as the CJO treatment plant, CJO. That stands for Carl J. Olson treatment plant. That's this existing water treatment on the Edison Township side. I note, and you're going to hear a good bit of testimony, that the access road that we're proposing, that's going to start at a warehouse in Edison, sort of snake through Highland Park, and then go back into Edison. It's going in substantially the same location as an existing railroad bed. You'll hear more details, but we're taking advantage and minimizing to the extent feasible the grading and the construction by using this sort of old railroad bed that's still used a little bit currently, but we're using that location. That's already gone through. We do have a separate application pending in Edison. That's actually going to be heard tomorrow night by coincidence for a major upgrade of the water treatment facility. You may have heard of something called PFAS, P-F-A-S.
I'm so sorry, this is one again. You could use the microphone just for recording purposes.
Use the microphone, please. I can't hear you.
Okay,
Can't you everyone at the dais?
We can hear him, but I guess.
I know.
would you like to come up? You want to go
No,
to
no.
chair?
She can use the
Richard, just
microphone.
use the mic.
Okay.
It should work.
Okay, so tomorrow night in Edison, there is another application for a significant upgrade, and you'll hear a little bit about that because the projects work together.
There.
Thank you.
In addition to the roadway, we're proposing some drainage facilities here in Highland Park. I mentioned the movement of a 1,500 square foot storage shed. Lot 11, that's the Rutgers owned parcel, or one of the Rutgers owned parcels is in the RMG zone. Lot 12 owned by Rutgers and lot 13 owned by my client are in the CS zone. And we're also in the stream corridor protection overlay zone. So the zoning is a little bit complicated. We are a public utility. We're going to analyze the case under the D1 criteria as if it's a use variance. There's some arguments that we're an expansion of a prior non-conforming use, but given the three different zones, we took the more conservative route, and we think we can establish the criteria. Of course, we are inherently beneficial on the use variance, so we get to take advantage of that SECA balancing test. You may have heard of that. It's the 4-step balancing test. It's sort of a special test when you're inherently beneficial. The 4 steps: what's the public good? What are the detriments? Are there any conditions? And then there's a balancing on whether the variance could be granted without substantial detriment. Chairwoman, we've had a little twist 2 weeks ago. The New Jersey Supreme Court came out with a new case and sort of modified the 4th step of the balancing test to ask us to focus a little more specifically on the zoning ordinance part of that test. And our planner, of course, is going to talk about that as well. So what I would like to do, Chairwoman, I'm going to call my planner, Lorelei Totten, just to go over. I'll qualify her as a planner. She also happens to be an engineer. Just to we're okay? I think we're
Turn
okay.
those phones off, please.
I'm working on it.
Okay. I'm going to call Ms. Totten just to sort of orient you with the 2 municipalities where the treatment plan is. Then I'm going to call Brian Carr from Middlesex Water. He's really the business person, explain why we're here, what we're trying to do with creating a secondary access road, and what we're trying to do in the treatment plant. And he's going to talk a little bit about those forever chemicals as well. Then we'll call Dave Tanzi. He's the civil engineer. Talk about the civil aspects, the drainage, the roadway, and so on. We have a traffic expert for very brief testimony. That's John Ray. And then we'll have Ms. Totten come back as the planner to talk about the statutory criteria for the variances. As I mentioned to you off the record, we think our presentations could take maybe an hour, hour and 15 to get it all in. And of course, depending on the questions that you ask. But I want to give you a little overview of what we're up to tonight. Would that be okay?
Would that be okay, except that I'd like to take a moment. I noticed that there's 2 reports from our consultants. Both of those have reviewed the issues of completeness. They have raised a number of, I don't want to say questions, but they've raised a number of waivers that need to be dealt with, and therefore I'm going to be looking to the board. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, there have been discussions in the planner's report, the engineer's report regarding the issue of completeness. Several of them have raised issues about waivers that are being requested by the applicant. What I would suggest is that it would appear as though, and I don't like to speak to the engineer and the planner, but I will in this particular case. And if I misspeak, I'm sure they'll advise me. They've indicated that there are some modifications and waivers. If they have any concerns about those, they should indicate them now. And if not, I'm going to be suggesting that, Madam Chair, you end up soliciting a motion to deem the application complete, granting the waivers. But before I solicit that, or you should solicit that, gentlemen, do you have any comments regarding the issue of completeness?
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. In my report dated July 22nd, 2026, section 2 on page 2, the acknowledge the applicant has requested waivers and certain requirements from both the preliminary site plan checklist as well as the final site plan checklist. There's some duplication there, so there's a lot more.
I don't think we need to go through each and every one. In other words, I think it's fair that if you end up having any comments as to why those waivers should not be granted, that's maybe the focus of what we're talking about.
So I'll keep it simple then. I don't have any reason for the board to deem the application complete. I recommend for, given the scope of the project, grant requested waivers.
I concur.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the comments by your engineer and the planner. If you concur with their opinions that the waivers can be granted without adversely affecting the review of this application, recognizing that, I say this mostly for the members of the public, because sometimes they don't understand the process. You all do. But if you do grant waivers, you fully understand that by granting those waivers for purposes of completeness, you are not granting them necessarily forever. If it turns out during the course of the hearing that one of the waivers that was granted, you feel as though is necessary, whatever that may be, an engineering detail, a planning detail, whatever it may be, you have the right to request that, and then the applicant will act accordingly. But nonetheless, at this point in time, you've heard the recommendations of your staff, and I would now suggest, Madam Chair, that you solicit a motion to deem the application complete, granting waivers requested.
Do I have a motion to deem the application complete and accepting the requested waivers?
I move that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I would suggest a roll call, please.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Factor,
Yes.
Mr. Pheasant,
Yes.
Ms. Corbin,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Ms. Leslie,
Yes.
Mr. Bynum.
Yes.
And I'll try not to interrupt too much anymore.
I'll hold you to that, Mr.
I bet
Thomas.
you will.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to call our first witness, the planner, Lorelei Totten. We'll have her sworn. And please.
Ms. Totten, do you swear or affirm testimony that you're about to give will be the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Would you be kind enough to state your name, spell your last name, and the location of your offices, please?
Yes, Lorelei Totten, T as in Tom, O-T-T-E-N, Crest Engineering Associates, Inc., Millstone Township, New Jersey. Do you have another microphone? Thank you.
That's right here.
There we go. Thank you very much.
I don't think we'll be talking much.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Totten, can you provide your professional qualifications?
Still on.
He is an attorney. He doesn't understand the electronics.
Yes, I can provide. Is this on again? Doesn't sound like it. No,
That should
somebody
be the
turned it
bottom
off.
part.
Yeah, green light should be on.
Hello.
There we
Yes,
go.
I'm on. Thank you. I graduated from Lehigh University with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering in 1977. Not germane to this particular hearing, but I passed my professional engineering tests and obtained my license in 1983. My planner's license is from 1986. I have 40 years of experience in a lot of C variance planning as well as D variance and C variance planning for zoning boards throughout northern and central Jersey, including Monmouth County, Middlesex County, Bergen County, Morris County, maybe Essex. I've been heard before Edison zoning board as well, but I have not had the pleasure to speak before this board.
You've already sort of answered the question, but you have obviously been accepted by way of your qualifications as a professional planner in various land use, zoning and planning, which is.
That is correct.
I have no additional questions unless Chris, you have anything? Fine, thank you very much.
Okay, Lorelei, we worked on the exhibit marked as A1. You worked on that with the engineering firm,
I did.
okay, and we can get that easel.
Is that the same as this?
That is,
So
A1.
Is, well, you have it listed as Exhibit 1, but we'll
Exhibit
call it
1.
A1. And it is apparently, it's described as an aerial exhibit.
Yes.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yes, it's an aerial exhibit prepared by Mr. Tansey's staff at CDM Smith. And what it shows you is the overall project itself, starting on the eastern side, Fairview Avenue, coming in from Edison into the main portion of the water treatment plant, which is located in the lower middle part of this board. Can you want me to move it?
Can everybody see it? Okay, got it in front of you there a little bit, okay.
Right, and then there's a lot right next to the Edison border. Edison, I guess I should say Highland Park first, correct? The Highland Park Edison border, there's a triangle lot located on the corner that is owned by the water company. And then as indicated by the attorney, there's about a 2-acre parcel with another 3/4 acre parcel above it, both owned by Rutgers, that abut another property in Edison, the Segme Warehouse Building, which has access on Cedar Lane, which is running through the upper northwest corner of this display. So right now, the only entrance is from here, and the impacts on Highland Park will be continuing the road around and connecting into an existing access point on Cedar Grove. Sorry, I grew up near Cedar Grove Road, Cedar Lane, which is how Segme, this warehouse, accesses to County Road. It goes through 2 Rutgers lots and then into the lot owned by the water company. And that's basically my orientation.
So just for tonight's purposes, we're gonna, that big white building is a warehouse. We're gonna call that Segme, SEGME. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the, okay,
Yes.
and when the chairwoman I mentioned, we're gonna be in Edison tomorrow night. So we're gonna be looking for approvals. Lorelei, would you show them where the access road starts on the Segme property in Edison? Again?
There's an existing paved driveway into a parking lot on the western side of the Segme building. And there's an existing short paved area that goes towards this railroad spur that was part of Camp Kilmer at one time. Comes down and there's an existing drive over this road, a culvert under it because there's a stream here that will be described to you later. And then it curves around and joins an access road that's actually on the water company property. So this is the proposed area that we'll be focusing on tonight, along with a little stormwater, part of the stormwater basin, and a proposed, well, it's an existing shed that's located in the area where the construction is proposed in Edison, and we're asking to move it over to a corner of the lot owned by the water company.
So I was out at the site over the weekend and I noticed a gravel access road with guide rails. Could you tell me where that is on the map?
If you can't, and you want to defer to it.
Yes, I would like to defer to Mr. Tansey.
That's fine.
So hold that, we'll get to it in just
Okay.
1 minute.
Okay,
Okay, so Lorelei, just to do it again, can you run your hand down where the municipal border is?
Yes, the municipal border is, parallels this road. And then the parking lot adjacent to Segway, straight on down and, to the railroad tracks.
And then final question for this part of your testimony. You did a little research in terms of aerial photos
Yes.
about the road. Can you just describe for the board,
Yes.
you know, what you found there?
Yes, so Cam Kilmer occupied a lot of this area back during World War II. And I believe that the railroad that comes through here and the spurs were constructed in the around 1942, sometime between 1940 and 1944, because those were the aerial maps I looked at. And then I researched Camp Kilmer a little bit, and I believe that Camp Kilmer was not really abandoned, but it's in 1963 approximately. Some of the railroads that go through here are still here used for other purposes, but this spur, which does have a little bit of tracks on it down below the road, is mostly used now to access that culvert to maintain it.
Is there a stream corridor protection zone?
There is. That will be more completely described by Mr. Tansey. However, the northern property line is a stream, and there is a floodplain associated with that. And it has a 50-foot buffer on that floodplain. So from 50 foot to 50 foot on either side is a stream corridor that runs through this, and we are asking for some variances or a variance from that, which is permitted by the ordinance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chairwoman, as advertised, I wanted to have the overview so we could all sort of orient. And then now I'm going to call, unless you want to open it to the public
I
or
think,
more.
yeah, why don't we open it to the board
Okay.
members' questions and also the public, and then we can move on.
Ms. Tan will be coming back, as you
I
know.
understand.
okay. Do any members of the board have any questions at this time?
Gentlemen?
Any members of the public have any questions at this time?
Yes, ma'am. Please identify yourself, and since you don't have a mic, you can, oh, well, I guess you do have a mic.
Lois Loving, North Second Avenue. What else do you need?
That's it.
That's
Please
it.
spell your last name
Spell your last name.
Lebbing.
and your address again.
North Second Avenue, Highland Park.
Thank you.
How many acres of the preserve will be impacted, or how many feet? You need to share.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Tansey. He's the civil engineer that designed these plans, and he knows all of those numbers.
I know utilities, or I understand utilities don't have to give notice within 200 feet, or I've read that, maybe that's true or not true. But my question is, has Rutgers been notified those certified letters for this application?
Well, I could answer that. We did notice, we're required to notice, and we did notice Rutgers is one of the property owners. So they actually signed an owner's consent form agreeing to allow us to bring this application. So we got the list from Edison and Highland Park and did the usual notice.
Okay, good. That's all for now. Thank you.
I did have a contextual question.
Sure.
Could you describe the unmet need with respect to the current access road? Why is another access road really?
We're gonna get to that with the next witness on what we're looking, the next two witnesses, really.
Since there's nobody else from the public, oh, yes, member of the board.
In the Cedar Arms apartments there, can you point to where their pool is for me?
I'm not sure where their pool is. Oh, maybe it's right. It's either a
It's right
tennis
there.
court or a pool.
As I recall, that there was quite a bad flooding incident there. I forget if it was Irene or Sandy, but it really washed out quite terribly at one point. Place it on the map.
I'm not 100% sure, but looking at the map and the overlay, there's something in here that's probably
Mhm.
either a tennis court or a pool.
There's no source.
Okay, so that's a full column.
If there's no other questions, I think we can move on. Thank you very much.
Okay, Chairwoman, I'm going to call Brian Carr. the, Director, Vice President of New Jersey Engineering at Middlesex Water.
Sir, you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Would you be kind enough to state your name, spell your last name, and the location of your offices, please?
I'm Brian Carr, C-A-R-R. My office is at 485C Route 1 South in Islam.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Carr, what's your position with Middlesex Water?
I am the current Vice President and leader of the engineering group at the Middlesex Water Company.
And you've been with them for a bit of time?
I've worked for Middlesex for 16 years now.
And what are some of your other positions that led you to be the Vice President of Engineering?
I started as a senior project engineer, essentially doing all the regular grunt work you do on a regular construction project. Did that for many years. Became manager of engineering, I think 7 or so years ago. But engineers started reporting to me for the work they were doing. After that, I became the director of engineering, where the entire department was reporting to me. And since then, it's been director, then some other minor title increases until vice president.
And we're not qualifying you as an expert, but you are a licensed engineer.
I am.
And you've been working in the water industry for approximately how
20
long?
years, about 20 years in the water industry.
Okay, and I mentioned the CJO, or Carl J. Olson treatment plant that brings us here today. Can you give us some background on the project and why you're coming to the Board of Adjustment here in Highland Park?
So yeah, the biggest reason we're here is the EPA passed new PFAS regulations, which were stricter than the ones passed in 2019 by New Jersey, where they brought it down from New Jersey's 13 roughly parts per trillion to 4 parts per trillion. The source water we have at the CJO plant we buy from the state tends to be right around 4 to 6 parts per trillion. So if we did not provide treatment for this water, we would be in violation of drinking water standards. That is the reason we're building the large plant shown in Edison. That's where it's going, Edison. And as part of that, there's going to be increased truck traffic for the change out of the GAC filters. Sorry, I should explain that. The granular activated carbon filters. We selected granular activated carbon after an extensive piloting program we ran for about a year. We tested 6 different removal techniques. And while all were effective, the most effective and most cost effective was the granular activated carbon deep bed contactors, which essentially you can picture the giant swimming pool filled with carbon. About 30 feet deep, 20 feet wide each 10 of them.
And this, let's just go back. PFAS, these are these forever chemicals that I mentioned.
Per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances, I believe that's PFAS, that's how that works.
Okay.
It's a very long word.
And there are new regulations from both the federal government and the state government requiring the removal or lowering of these background chemicals in the water system.
They are requiring it to be removed to essentially the detection limit of the test.
Okay, and when must that be done?
Currently, things are kind of fluid, but currently the way it's written and the way the law stands, it is April of 2029. We have to be in compliance. We have to start notifying in 2028 if we exceed the 4 parts per trillion on the running annual average. But then that would be a thing if we didn't provide treatment.
So the company is going to be spending a significant amount of money to bring in this new technology,
yes,
which has charcoal and filters and a process that's going to happen.
Yes, it's not a complicated process. It is essentially just filtration, but it does require a great deal of carbon to do it.
Okay, and that a lot of the building that's going to be necessary and the treatment and all that stuff that's going to be on the Edison side where we'll
all of that is on the Edison side
where we'll be tomorrow. Again, you mentioned that there was some feasibility studies and Middlesex Water evaluated alternatives. Who did that and just give us a minute or two on how that worked.
So Middlesex Water contracted with CDM Smith with the help of J. Fletcher Kramer.
Slow down, sir, please.
You can talk fast, but her fingers are not quite that fast.
Very good. So Middlesex Water contracted with CDM Smith and J. Fletcher Kramer Fletcher was the contractor building the construction to test.
Excuse me 1 second. Could you do us a favor and just turn that off?
I'm trying.
Thank you. Sorry.
So we tested, keep waiting, yes.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Carr, why don't you proceed?
Roger, can we just wait till, so that she can hear everything? 2 minutes, hopefully.
Sure. Assuming it can be read in 2 minutes. If it was my phone, I'd give it to you and then neither one of us would know.
Could stamp on it. You got it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We were just talking about some of the alternatives and the process that you went through.
Right, so what we did was we said that we purchased and rented a pilot skid. It's essentially a bunch of small tubes that you fill with media. And we took the water from the effluent of our current filters and pumped it through those to see which was the best at removing the PFAS that we had in the water. And while we did 6 different techniques and all 6 worked to varying degrees of success, the GAC contactors was the most efficient, most economical. There's also, we could have done GAC in vessels, steel vessels, but the size of that building would be get it really close to the Highland Park border, would have been a much larger building.
Okay, now the treatment, you have an existing water plant there.
We do.
Right, so the treatment of the water has to be at that plant, of course, right?
Yes.
It's not like it could be at any other place.
No, we feed East Brunswick in the side yard of our plant essentially. So if the water treatment was not there, we'd have to have multiple plants, which would just be a financial disaster.
And how many customers is Middlesex Water serving altogether? You know, offhand?
Altogether, we're about 250,000 individuals between wholesale and retail. Highland Park is a wholesale customer.
Okay. The access road.
Yes.
Why do you want to do that from a business standpoint?
Right. We've been trying to get a secondary access road at this plant for about 15 years. The primary reason is while the Fairview Avenue entrance has suited us just fine for the last 50 so years, if there was something to happen on the approach or Fairview itself and kept us from getting to and from the plant, including chemical deliveries that we have on a weekly basis, the operators getting to the plant, there's no other way to get to the plant other than walking through people's yards. If we couldn't go down Fairview Avenue. We tried to go where the warehouse currently is, but you can imagine Rutgers wasn't keen on letting us encumber some of their property to rather sell to the warehouse and do much better than they would do with us. That leaves us with the southern access point down the southern end of the plant site, or the closest to the Raritan. And that's where that existing railroad bed was. And Rutgers uses it as access for themselves.
Talk to the board members.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Rutgers uses it as access for themselves to get to the culvert that is under that embankment. So we figured this is about our last opportunity to find a place to go, because obviously the other side is northeast corridor. There's no way we're getting across that. And then the residential area would have essentially the same issues as the Fairview Avenue side. That's not the one spot.
Is the intended use only as a contingency access road, when the primary road is not accessible?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to get to it in the next witness, just to give you a little preview. So you're aware. The average truck traffic is about 1 truck per day. Just so you know.
On the new road.
On the new road. Just so we're going to get to it. It's sort of condensed. It doesn't happen. So we're like, there's a week when there's going to be 25 trucks and then no trucks for 5 weeks. That's for the new system. And then 2 to 3 trucks per week for the existing operation. So I just wanted to front that with you to let you know we're not creating a super highway here. Overall, over the course of a month, we're talking about 1 truck per day. on average. That's the sort, and we're gonna get to that with the next witness in more
What kind of
detail.
truck are we talking about?
Do you know, Brian?
It would be the semi-tractor trailer size. It's open top, moving the carbon in and out. So that it's our intention to only direct trucks, not normal plant traffic, except in an emergency.
Brian.
Yeah.
Your existing plant there.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's water from the canal and from your wells in South Mayfield,
It is only from the DNR canal.
only for the DNR canal. Are you doing the chlorination there?
Yes.
Will you be bringing trucks full of chlorine through Highland Park?
If we are, we already are.
Well, right now you're taking them through Edison.
And we're not changing it. We're not going to change it
You go to the lease, you're going to 87 from there.
through, they have, if I may.
Sure.
There's no tractor trailers can get there from the northeast corridor side of Edison because there's a low bridge right just over here. So they're all coming from the Cedar Lane side, whether they come up through Highland Park or come down Plainfield Avenue and through Edison. I don't know the answer to that question, but whatever they're doing now is what they're going to continue to do for the chemical, for the chlorine delivery. And we don't get, just so you know, we don't get the 14% hypochlorite. We make our own hypochlorite on site, so we tend to get salt.
You're trapping it there.
Yeah, yes, we make it live.
Do you make a big sand filter there as well, or is that?
We do. These two buildings here have sand and anthracite filters. You know, this is the original set 8, this is X4 to do all the traditional filtration of your water.
With your new process that you're putting in place, you're going to need to replenish and replace the activated charcoal
Yes.
on a regular basis.
Based on our pilot study, it's looking about, what was it, about a year?
How many tons do you have to bring in every year?
Well, you can tell them exactly how much PFAS will be in the water when it starts, I can answer that for sure, but what are we projecting, Dave? I'm gonna have to wait for Dave to get that done.
Could you hold that question, sir,
Sure.
for a little more technical?
So will this in other ways improve water quality, or it's really all about PFAS, there's nothing else?
It will absolutely otherwise improve water quality. GAC is not a selective media. It will absorb anything that it comes across that it likes. It's also good at pharmaceuticals. It's primarily used, we have to use it now. We have to use low dose carbon now for taste and odor and for upsets in the DNR canal. If someone spills some diesel in there.
What's the route that the water takes on the tanks? Is this unrelated to the construction on River Road?
I suspect. Oh, yeah, the River Road, that's
Unrelated.
Yeah, the Highland Park, the 20 and the culvert, yeah.
Does this new process also remove some of the trace pharmaceuticals that are showing up in our water?
It does. Yes,
Brian, sir, one question. I think, you're talking about filtering out the PFAS to meet the new standards.
yes.
And as I'm not sure, everybody knows, PFAS is extremely toxic. It stays in your body for decades and causes all kinds of health problems. That's why the new state standard.
Sure.
So I'm wondering where it's going into the charcoal,
Yes.
because that's what's filtering it out. How long is that contaminated charcoal sitting there, and where is it sitting? And how do you prevent what's in that charcoal from getting out in rain and snow and other things that happen?
Fair question. First of all, these new contactors are inside, so they're not exposed to the elements. But one of the primary drivers for going with GAC is it is a renewable media. What happens is, as it absorbs more and more PFAS, once it's loaded up to the point where it's no longer doing its job, we ship it up, we pack it up in the trucks that deliver the new stuff, bring it back to the manufacturer. They put it through a kiln at several thousand degrees and reactivate the carbon, which destroys the PFAS molecules.
So they take care of it.
Yes,
So
but
how, what's that cycle though? How long do we keep it until you're ready to load it up on the truck and send it back?
as soon as it's expired, as soon as it's no longer doing its job with us, we get it out.
So what is that time frame?
It couldn't be any more than a week or two.
So you're constantly bringing in new and sending it out.
We have 10 contactors. We expect to have them happening once a year. So you stagger them. So there's gonna be about 10, maybe 11 events in a year where we are reloading contactors.
But you just said every week you're gonna send the used.
Now, after it's expired, the freshly activated carbon lasts for almost a year. And then when, we don't want to, it's sitting there, not removing PFAS doesn't do anybody any good.
So it's sitting there doing this work, collecting the PFAS for about a year.
Yes,
And it's inside, so it's protected from
yes.
weather and other problems,
Yes.
but we're not keeping it. We do send it back to whoever we buy the charcoal from.
Yes, we send it back to the manufacturer, they reactivate it, we get back the carbon they reactivate. So you end up losing some in the process, usually about 10% in the process, you get 10% new, 90% recycled.
Isn't it a question of how many gallons you put through it, not time? You say that's for a year, it's really.
It's concentration of PFAS, how many molecules of PFAS are in there?
And how many gallons go through it.
Um,
Time really isn't relative.
No, but just generally they're related. If we average steady 6 parts per trillion, we can know exactly what's going on, almost exactly what's going on, right? But if you look at our PFAS concentration coming from the raw water, it'll go down to 2, it'll go up to 6, it'll go down to 2, and stay at 2 for 3 months, and then come back. It's all over the place. It's below the New Jersey level, so we did not do anything.
Okay, may I?
Yes, you may.
Okay, Ryan, you were looking for a secondary access road where, that's like a general operational safety, emergency services, in case something happens,
Yes.
on Fairview and Edison, it gets blocked. You want to have, it's a critical resource, obviously, you want to have another way in,
Yes,
Okay.
that is important.
okay? So, in addition to the new trucks that are going to be handling the charcoal, you have 2 or 3 trucks a week that come down Fairview
Yes,
as it is. What are those for? General deliveries?
yes. Between the different chemicals, we get some filter aids, which are polymers. I couldn't tell you exactly what they are, but there's 2 or 3 different chemicals that we get. We get pack deliveries currently. There's the powder version of GAC. We use that in small doses. I forget what else we get.
Okay.
They come in the typical tanker trucks, the semi tankers.
And right now they're going down Fairview, which is a residential street. If the board does approve it and this gets constructed, that'll be an opportunity to move those trucks off of a residential street, albeit in Edison, but it will be a chance to get them to come through the Segme warehouse and use the Highland Park. Again, that's 2 to 3 trucks per week.
Yes.
Okay, so low quantity, but nonetheless coming down a residential street,
Yes.
you could do that.
And always during the day, always during business hour. We don't. It's not. This is
I
not
think there's some truck restriction on Cedar Lane.
You're right.
There is.
We could talk about that, yeah. We believe, I think that's more on the overnight.
Yes.
On that, we're aware of that.
Yeah.
Chairwoman, if you just give me 1 second, I think we're done. Okay. On our end.
Okay, so any members of the board have any additional questions for this professional?
Gentlemen?
I'll wait for Mr. Tansey.
Okay.
Any members of the public have any questions?
She left.
Okay, all right, then we are ready for your. next-
Okay, well, I'm gonna call David Tansey, a civil engineer.
So you ready? Oh, you have a mic, you do. You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name, and the location of your offices.
David Tanzi, T as in Tom, A-N-Z-I. My office is Camp Dresser CDM Smith, located at 110 Hillcrest Avenue in Edison.
And Dave, can you give your professional qualifications, your degrees and your experience in the engineering field?
Yes, I graduated from Stevens Institute of Technology with a bachelor's of civil engineering and a master's in environmental engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. I've been with CDM Smith since 1995, so over 30 years. I've been practicing as an engineer in the water field since that time.
And your job title?
I'm a senior project manager and also senior vice president at CDM Smith.
And can you talk about some of the projects and presentations that you've made over your 30+ years?
Sure. I've been engineer of record between here and the Northeast for about 30 different engineering projects. I presented at, I think, over 50 conferences, technical conferences, both locally, nationally, and regionally. I've authored 4 technical papers in industry magazines.
Okay, but tonight is your first night seeking to be qualified as an expert at a New Jersey zoning and planning board. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Chairman, I would submit Mr. Tanzi as an expert based upon his educational background, his experience, his extensive project and project management experience. Although this is his first time being qualified, there always has to be a first time, even if you have a little gray in the beard.
No problem. We accept his qualifications.
Hold on. Let me just ask a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
I gather, although this is the first time you've testified in New Jersey, have you testified that you said you are licensed in various other states, correct?
Correct.
And you've dealt with projects in other states?
I have.
And since I'm not a qualified expert in the municipal land use law, if that's what it's called in other states, have you testified in front of projects such as boards like this in those other states?
I have not formally testified in other states in this type of session.
Okay. All right, I have no other additional questions. Thank you. I don't have any questions. I think he's more than qualified, given his background.
Okay to proceed, Chairwoman? The qualified. Okay, Dave. I wanted to hit a few points from the engineering review letters first. And we're going to get to truck traffic and the disturbance of the board members before we sort of go into the overview. Is that okay, Chairwoman?
Yes.
Okay, so in the review letters, Dave, there was a question about tree removal in Highland Park, and we have some of that. Can you quantify that and for us?
There's a total of 84 trees will be planted. There's 24 trees that are greater than 8 inches but less than 20 inches that will be removed, and then 9 trees greater than 20 inches but less than 36 inches. And all total, to replant 84 trees in Highland Park.
Okay, and we got a letter, seemingly an approval letter from May 20th from 2026 from the Highland Park Shade Tree Advisory Committee.
We did.
Or at least it seemed favorable. Okay, we talked about the number of trucks. Dave coming in, you're the technical director, and I represented that every 6 weeks or so, there would be about 20 to 25 trucks over the course of 1 week. And then there'd be 5 weeks with no new trucks. Can you confirm that for the board?
That's confirmed, approximately a month and a half.
Okay, so every month and a half or so, you get these 20 to 25 trucks condensed in a week. And then no new trucks while they do the various change outs on the charcoal.
No new trucks, correct.
No new trucks. Okay, just want Chairwoman, a little complicated, but I think everybody's probably got that they come in a week, but then you got a couple of weeks with nothing going on. And if you average it all out, proposed trucks, the existing 2 to 3 that come, we're talking on an order of magnitude of 1 truck per day. And
Let's talk about that a little bit. So the 20 to 25 trucks that come in for 1 week, every 6 weeks. What are those trucks for? What do they deliver?
Sure. So as Mr. Carr had mentioned, the new treatment facility will have GAC, granular activated carbon, as the treatment technique. The trucks will deliver that GAC, the media that will go in these large tanks, 10 of them. And then in a year, that media will have to be removed from the tanks and trucked out. And then new media will be brought in. So those trucks, those 20 to 25 trucks, are solely for the GAC media. That is, new media is coming in and old media is going out.
when you
So
say,
explain, hold on 1 second, Charlie. Give me a chance, will you?
sure.
The fact of the matter is, you're saying there's 20 to 25 trucks. However, Mr. Carr indicated that the media lasts approximately 1 year. And I'm trying to get a sense of the relationship between the two. Why is it that there's a need for 25 trucks for 1 week when the media lasts for a year? Why isn't it spread over a longer period of time? Notwithstanding, but Mr. Slotnick says if you average it out, course, we all know, as an engineer, you absolutely know, you can make numbers do anything. So the real question is, for that 1 week, there's going to be a lot of trucks. So why can't it be set up so that instead of 20 or 25 trucks coming in 1 week, and you're only having 1 or 2 the rest of the time, why can't they be spread out so that there's only, on average, 2.5 trucks over that period of time, or something like that?
Did anyone understand the question? Yes. So with that, when the vendors come in to change out the media, they're looking to change it out in a condensed period. The water company wants to keep the plant operating, so they don't want to keep 9 filters operating and 1 down. They'd rather keep all 10 operating. So they are losing capacity while they're doing the change out. So it's really to minimize the change, the time with respect to the change out.
I get that part. I mean, I can understand you don't want to close down, you're less efficient, et cetera. But I still don't understand why you need to have 25 trucks every 6 weeks, when in fact, if you are in a situation where the media lasts for a year, why don't you end up having 25 trucks once a year, and then the rest of the time simply having the 1 or 2 that has been referenced by learned colleagues.
So Brian mentioned there's 10 of these, let's say swimming pools, 10 large tanks. Every month, we're changing out that media in each swimming pool. So over 12 months, we're doing 10 change outs. So that 10 change outs, each change out takes 20 to 25 trucks for that change out.
It's not just one tank.
There's 10 individual tanks. So each of those 10 tanks will last up to a year. So we'll start up the filters.
I see. So you're taking out 1 tank per every 6 weeks.
Correct.
Now I understand.
Every month.
If you had said that, it would have been a lot easier.
My apologies.
I have to take some heat on that. But I think the board understands sort of the frequency. We don't think it's a lot of trucks because even that is, over the course of a workday. And Dave, we can schedule it during the workday. It's not going to be at night at all.
Yeah, so the water company will subcontract with a vendor to supply the media. So they'll put together an annual contract or a 2-year annual contract. And in that contract, the water company is looking to write provisions that would require the vendor to deliver media during the day, daytime, not at nighttime, and not during the weekends.
Dave, since we're on the trucks, we have a one-way situation and there's some internal gates. Can you give us a little overview of that? If you need a board, maybe that will help. Okay, we don't have, Roger, Thomas, we're showing you exactly what we have in the file. We don't have to remark it, right?
But the only thing, when you put it up there, just make reference to it.
Call out the sheet number, Dave.
So bottom right-hand corner, sheet number 005-C as in cat -06, dated April 2026.
Thank you. Okay.
So with respect to these trucks that are delivering new media to the treatment plant is over here. The new PFAS facility is in the center left of the page. New access road is to the west of that. If you're looking at that figure, the Segme warehouse is here. Cedar Lane is up here. So the intent would be for trucks to come off Cedar Lane into this private roadway that is owned and operated by Segme, the owners of the warehouse. There will be a 24-foot wide farm barrier gate located off the entrance to the new access road. When the truck pulls up, the truck operator will dial and make contact with the operators that sit inside the existing treatment plant. There'll be a camera there, so the operators will see what the truck is, their license plate, that it's the truck being delivered for this facility. The operator will remotely open that swing arm, so the swing arm will come up. There's traffic signals on this side, and this side, there'll be another gate as we get closer to the treatment plant. When the swing arm goes up, the traffic light turns green. That truck then proceeds along the repurposed driveway, the new access road. Swing arm gate closes behind it. The traffic light turns red, so not allow any other traffic to go through. Swing arm comes down. That truck proceeds around the curve to another chain link automatic slide gate. As that truck approaches, that slide gate will open and allow the truck to come in. When that truck passes, the 50-foot slide gate then closes and traffic lights turn to red. Trucks do their delivery within the ski box facility. It will take a couple hours for each truck to either deliver the media or take out the media. And when the truck is ready to leave, essentially the process is reversed, starting at the gate on the east side and then continuing. Truck will continue off the access road to Cedar Lane. The intent is only.
What's the width of that road? It's narrow.
The existing road, the width is, let's make sure I have this correct.
So the existing,
It's existing,
okay. We're gonna get to existing and then we'll get to proposed.
but I could.
And when you say existing, you're talking about the Fairview?
No, there's
I understand there's an existing Cedar Lane, but this is an extension.
this is like a road, there's an existing road bed there that is used, as Lorelei said.
When you said existing, I thought you were talking about Fairview. but I'm still
I think
talking
you're asking about the, not Fairview, but about the,
the Cedar Lane,
As
whatever.
constructed, what was the width?
Of the new access road. Yeah, so the existing access road,
Extension, yes.
yeah, the width at the narrowest point is 15 feet wide, and at the widest point is about 18 feet wide. After construction, the narrowest will be 18 feet, and the widest will be about 32 feet. Where we're crossing the existing stream, it's about 18 feet, and we're leaving it at that width, not to disturb.
So essentially, it's a one-lane road.
Yes, sir, it's a
That's-
one.
And then we have the same lane control.
So between the barrier arm on the west side, the slide gate on the east side, the operators who man the plant 24/7 will control access in and out through that driveway, and it is acting as a one-way lane.
So the arm wouldn't prevent pedestrian traffic, but the sliding gate will.
In order to pass the arm on the west side, it would have to be remotely open by an operator within the plant.
We control vehicular traffic, I was just asking about pedestrians.
Oh, pedestrian could
But
walk
the
around.
sliding gate would be secure.
Correct, yes, unless they climb over.
And what about the grading? I thought there was some significant grading.
yeah, I think, Dave, you want to talk about some of the design considerations, and we are seeking relief, some relief, because there is grading concerns.
Just like to understand about it.
Yeah,
Show me where the road passes over the creek.
Sure.
So the existing creek is, I need to get a better drawing.
Topographical, you know, it's
Yeah.
high.
If I may, let me grab a second drawing. So,
okay, and Dave, if you just
Yep.
call out the sheet.
Oh, okay, that would be great.
yeah, another sheet 005.
05?
005,
Dash
what-
C as a cat, dash 13. Well, access road existing conditions plan dated April of 2026. Point to it, if you can't see it, you know, I can come over and show you. There's two 24-inch corrugated metal pipes, which are here. So the stream conveys water from this tributary west side of the bank.
Those are the two new 424 corrugated because they washed out.
And that's, I think, what you're referencing earlier, with Hurricane Irene. It was when Rutgers did that. Yeah, it's been a while. And that's one of the reasons for the existing access road. So Rutgers utilizes that existing access road with construction equipment and vehicles on a regular basis to, they're responsible for the maintenance of that culvert. So the existing access road is utilized by Rutgers to maintain that. That's where it's located.
So Dave, why don't you talk about some of the design considerations while we're on it? Why'd we go with one way? What did you do to minimize the disturbance? Is there any way to do this without having some disturbance of the steep slopes and so on? And the restoration plan, right? I think we're
More impervious coverage will drain into that stuff.
We did a pretty comprehensive flood hazard analysis, flood zone. Our work is not raising the flood level of the tributary, the north of, or the west, the east of that existing.
I'm sorry, I can't hear
We
you.
can't hear you.
Can't hear you. You gotta, I think you gotta hold the mic.
Yeah. Question was how much additional, with additional impervious, how much will it impact the overall flow of the culvert? Our calculations that we prepared and it's submitted to New Jersey DEP flood hazard area verification, outcome permitted, is not showing any change in any of the different flood zones, 110 flood zones with our proposed project. Those culverts.
we do have a lot of stormwater facilities, mostly in Edison.
Yeah, there's 3 bioretention basins that are being constructed as part of the project. A portion of one of the bioretention basins is in Highland Park.
Connects to this area.
It does. They drain to that.
The environmental buffer, could you comment on the environmental buffer?
Yeah, do you want to go through one by one or?
In your order, go ahead.
Yeah. Maybe.
You want to take, you
Yeah,
want me to lead,
just go.
try to lead you through it? Okay, so
To add on to that, though, do you know how many trees you'll be taking down?
Yeah, there's 24 trees that are greater than 8 inches, but less than 20 inches. And there's 9 trees greater than 20 inches and less than 36 inches. And then doing the math, we're replacing with 84 new trees all in Highland Park. You have in your packet, there is a landscaping plan showing that.
Are any of the trees being removed currently serving as buffer to the apartments?
Let me bring up if I could.
we'll get to all the questions. They're coming at us and we're gonna,
No problem.
So as long as you're collecting questions, I didn't really understand what you were saying about the grading, the slope, changing the slope, increasing the slope. And you sort of indicated that it would have no impact on, storm drainage and.
The floods,
and
the floods.
floodplain, but you need it for a particular reason, and it's hard to believe that it would have no impact because, pick an example, everybody knows, like Florida Everglades. You know why it's not a swamp and it's a river of grass? A tiny 10-degree slope. Slope has a huge impact. A tiny 10-degree slope can change an entire habitat. So I would like to better understand why you need it and why you're saying that it has no impact.
Sure, and I'll get to that. And we're not really changing the gradient of the existing embankment. The slopes are more or less staying the same.
Okay, I was just looking at the documentation, it did say 30% to 34%. There were some
The
changes.
existing slopes and disturbance, so we're not actually regrading. I could explain what the disturbance is.
just give us a second. We're gonna show you where the
trees
storm,
first.
trees, then we'll do where the stormwater basin is, and then we'll come back to the disturbance and the slopes.
So you know, so we've had to close River Road 5 times already this year, just down the street there.
So this is sheet 005-C, as a cat-23. Federal access road landscape tree removal and replacement plan dated April 2026. So if you look at that, if you want to see what trees are being removed, those are with an X that goes through them. And the new trees that are being planted in this place do not have an X next to them. There's numbers or call outs for each of the new trees which are being installed, and the type of tree and number of tree and pieces of tree is shown on this.
That's C23.
Yeah.
That's 005-C-23. Did that answer your question?
Are we okay with that, Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
For now?
For now.
You're, okay, so that was trees.
And the calculation for that for the 84 is in that top box showing the number of trees to be removed and the number to be replaced.
Pause for a second. Trees, we're gonna move on. If you could just do a quick overview of the stormwater facilities. you had mentioned primarily in Edison. I think your engineer is gonna weigh in, and he has basically said, he'll speak for himself, that it makes sense since it's a 90-10 situation, 90% in Edison, 10% in Highland Park. Let the Edison folks review the stormwater system, and then we're agreeable to a condition that says you can come back and sort of review it later to double check.
Right.
The chairwoman. So he's sort of that normal detailed stormwater. I think your engineer said it makes sense for Edison to do. We're in that process. We think we're going to be fine with Edison, but we're also agreeable to a recheck.
With
So
the
it'll-
understanding too,
it'll be a
that,
subsequent compliance review.
correct. With the understanding that it's also going in front of the DEP for their reviews as well.
Yeah, I
There-
can go-
Flood- flood
I
hazard.
can go through the status of those permit applications if you'd like, whatever. you'd like.
We don't need that level of detail, but I think the board appreciates, we are at the DEP for a series of permits. Some of them have been issued, the flood hazard determination, of wetlands, letter of interpretation, but there's additional permitting that has to take place. And that's, of course, always a condition of an approval, that you go get your approvals from the DEP. But that doesn't mean we don't have to address your concerns. I'm not trying to say that. But Dave, let's just take a look at where the sort of the combined stormwater facilities are. So we can orient the board, and then we'll talk about the grades and what's being disturbed.
Just one question for our professionals. Do we need any kind of an intermunicipal agreement on oversight of the stormwater management?
No, no, because their stormwater management system is more primarily within Edison Township.
Okay.
So we do want to see their review and approvals. to see
And we
what
need to
their-
share the mic so that we could have everything recorded properly. Thank you.
Yeah, we do want to see the approvals from Edison Township stormwater management.
And we're agreeable to that. Okay, Dave, we're gonna sort of a brief overview of stormwater, and then we're gonna get into a little more on the disturbances.
So I'm looking at sheet 005-C-06, overall site plan. This is what we looked at before. Let's go through the proposed stormwater facilities. Again, most of these are on Edison Township property. There's 3 bioretention basins, bioretention basin 1 on the west side, bioretention basin number 2, and then bioretention basin number 3. Those 3 bioretention basins will primarily be responsible for draining any water to the Mill Creek and then conveying it to the existing twin culverts and across the embankment to the west side.
Okay, so significant stormwater improvements to the overall area with the construction of these new facilities, Dave?
Yeah, and you know, the stormwater facilities, as I said, will attest to have been designed to the January 2026 New Jersey stormwater management rules, not the old version.
So we're using the new rules, even though the grandfathering is still up for grabs.
Our application was deemed administratively complete before they took effect, but we still are using the new rules.
And Ms. Taunton with her planning hat is gonna say, hey, there's substantial stormwater improvements. These are benefits to the public. Can you talk about that a little bit from your technical standpoint in terms of adding the new features and how that improves what's going on out there?
Yeah, the stormwater facilities have designed the 4 criteria. You know, we are meeting erosion and sediment control standards. That's been designed. Applications are pending with the Real Soil Conservation District. Groundwater recharge, the project will test to is exempt from that. Stormwater quantity requirements are through the 3 bioretention basins, again, bioretention basin 1, 2, and 3. Then stormwater runoff quality requirements will be installing an approved biofilter that's approved by New Jersey DEP stated all on the other side.
So are you suggesting this actually, when you're done, the stormwater management will be better than it is now?
I would say that the stormwater management will be better when the project is complete than it is.
Offset the more runoff.
Additional improvements. Yes, all being conveyed.
And to be clear, all the Edison Park is uphill and goes draining down through Highland Park towards our residents.
Right in down the 20-foot pipes. There's a whole tributary up here that, if you look at the FHA model that we did.
And the up here.
But it all comes down to.
It all comes down to that Mill Creek and that
Goes to those two 24-inch pipes.
goes to the two existing 24-inch pipes.
And the up here that you're referring to is on the northerly side.
I'm sorry, sir.
And the uphill, up there that you're talking about is on the northern side, flowing from north to south.
Flowing from north to south, yes. Flowing from north to south.
Mr. Tansey, can I clarify something to you?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you give?
Our stormwater engineers
Is that why you
are
won't talk?
reviewing this project as well. We did look at their storm management report. So it is something we are actively reviewing as well.
I only want one.
Mr. Share.
Can I ask Chris a question?
Yes, of course.
Chris, are the two 24-inch pipes adequate to deal with, the anticipated runoff? I know it's a ballooned out once. Is it at risk? We're getting more and more of these 100-year storms.
Are you gonna leave those corrugated pipes under the road as they are, or it's gonna be improved, right?
Yeah, the question is, are we leaving the two corrugated pipes as is? As part of the project, although they're owned by Rutgers, we are planning to structurally line them.
Improve
them. So those pipes are about 140 feet long, each one. And we're going to use a structural class 4 line-in, so it's kind of a pipe inside a pipe. So really a new pipe inside the existing pipe to improve the shelf integrity of both of those.
That doesn't increase the capacity.
No, and the problem wasn't that they collapsed. The problem was that they got thrown out and washed downstream.
Right, maintenance wise, there's, so, Rutgers is doing maintenance. I'm not sure what they do. And
Chris, are they adequate? I mean, you're an engineer.
Well, it's okay. Our stormwater engineers did review it and not come up with any issues with the capacity.
Any issues?
Seems like.
Okay.
And just to add that to that, New Jersey DEP, they did approve our flood hazard FHA verification to set the flood line. And as part of that approval, they did concur with the two 24-inch culverts are adequate as part of the verification that we received on July 2nd, just last week.
I'd like to see those approvals.
So I'll take, Dave, I'll bring it over there. You got new batteries, and we're all set. I can shout.
We would like to see all of those approvals that we received.
You want to hold on to it for a second? Okay, we're going to just shift now to the word concerns about the steep slopes. We're going to take that first. So Dave, we are looking for some relief. It's not a variance. I just want the board, Chris pointed this out. This does not rise to the variance level because it's in your site plan ordinance. So the standard is sort of one that says, are there practical difficulties? Practical difficulties. It's not the more strict C1 or C2 criteria for a variance. It's a lower level. Is there a hardship? It sounds a little like a C variance, but the case law and the statute say, are there practical difficulties for this, for the steep slopes, that's an exception, a site plan waiver, if you will, for the 3 steep slopes. You have another one that deals with the stream corridor, which is a little different. That's in the variance category. They all kind of group together. So Dave, can you talk about the challenges? You testified, you wanted to take advantage of the existing disturbance, but we got to move some dirt around to be able to build this safely.
I'm going to share a figure and this is a local in your packet titled Steep Slope Analysis, Existing Conditions, Topography. It's also dated April of 2020.
Okay, and this is in your packet also, so that's it.
That's all.
Yeah, in your packet, exact same verbatim. Okay, there you go.
Copy. So as Rick said, disturbance of steep slopes greater than that are not allowed or not permitted in accordance with the ordinance. The ordinance has different steep slope categories, less than 10%, 10% to about 15%, 15% to about 20%, 20 to 25%, and above 25%. Each of these colors represent one of those categories. There's a table showing the overall area total. So we'll take the red, which is less than 10%. If you add up all the red, that equates to in Highland Park about 3.36 acres. There's a limited disturbance shown on those figures. It's this dashed line to the north and to the south of the proposed access road. So that's our limit of disturbance. How much we're actually disturbing is the fourth column, so area within the limit of disturbance. Your maximum allowed disturbance is the far right column, and then what we are proposing to disturb is located in the second to last column. So we're requesting waivers for not less than 10, we're requesting waivers for the 10% to about 15%, 15% to about 20%, 20% to 25%, and 25% or greater. Or the waivers, I'm sorry, not the 10 to 15%, the bottom three, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, and 25% or greater are the three waivers that we are requesting. With respect to the existing access road, as Ms. Todd said, it's an existing railroad embankment, about 18 feet wide. We're not looking to change the horizontal alignment of that. If we're looking at alternatives, we'd be looking at a whole new access road. Ripping this one down, a lot of disturbance to the existing slopes. So we're really utilizing the existing embankment and repurposing that for our new access road. The amount of disturbance, within this limited disturbance, that limited disturbance is really for tree removal, construction activities. We're not actually going in and, with this, let's say this purple over here, we're not going in and regrading that. So that slope is staying the same. We are disturbing it by removing trees or planting new trees. We're not actually regrading that area. We have a small amount of regrading over here, kind of at the bottom of the happy face. But it's a small amount here, but everything else, that limited disturbance is really related to tree removal, tree planting, silt fence at the limits to contain construction activities.
Is this really the best location, given that you have that roadbed there? To limit the disturbance, or writ large, you want to try to limit the disturbance if you can.
Yes, as Mr. Carr said, there's a number of other alternatives they looked at over the years. None of them were feasible. So again, repurposing the existing access road.
Did you look at any alternatives in your current planning?
In our current planning, all the other alternatives that we have looked at in the past have get taken, but no longer viable. And the water company's been working on this for 10 to 15 years. So at this point, the warehouse built, there's, this is it for a second access road.
Well, are you talking about alternatives using this property or just alternatives at any place?
Alternatives for less disturbance with this makeup of this property.
Got it. So like, Dave, I think what I'm trying to get at, maybe Ms. Walsh is saying like, if you moved it left or right or tried a different angle, would it be any better?
So we minimize disturbance really by keeping it one-way traffic, right? So if we were looking at two-way traffic, we would be widening the entire road and regrading both sides with a lot more disturbance. Where we're crossing the stream corridor is already at a minimum, it's already at 18 feet. We're not really changing that. So we're really, only the largest change is up here, already on the water company's existing property and really off the embankment. This road is about 650 feet long, and about 500 feet of that is in Highland Park. So with respect to minimizing, yes, utilizing the existing embankment is, in my opinion, the best way to minimize disturbance.
Doing the one way with this, with that gated system, because that allows you to do a more narrow situation. So that's how they, use the existing and narrow it as much as you can. It's not that complicated, but something too with that, you appreciate the gate system because you can't have the cars passing each other. So they have a way to reasonably do that. Dave, from a civil engineering standpoint, reasonable compromises in a complex situation, would you say?
Given the minimum number of vehicles that'll be entering and exiting, yes.
Okay, again, coming back to the sort of the legal standard, hardship, practical difficulties. I take it from an engineering standpoint, you're not seeing another solution that also gets you the benefits of that important secondary access. Like this is really the minimum grading and the minimum disturbance in the steep slope areas to get a second access point.
To safely allow trucks to pass via sections.
You're not aware, having talked to Middlesex Water, of any other location on any off-site property anywhere that could give you this secondary access. We're of course constrained by train tracks. This can't be crossing those, but.
Yes, correct. I mean, Millbrook runs up here, it's even wider up there, so this is the most logical place for a second access road.
Okay. We do also have that stream corridor protection overlay zone. Ms. Tompkins going to be talking a little bit about that. I'm not sure which properties it covers, but is there any way to avoid this also? This is all part of the package.
It's really all part of this steep slope. If you, and it's a little hard to see in your figure, Ms. Tom had indicated earlier, the 100-year floodplain is shown in kind of this dark black line above the dark dashed line. Also in that 50 feet is to the south is the 50-foot stream corridor protection zone. So between this is on the bottom or the south side of the access road, there's a dashed line in bold, and there's a little lighter dashed line right below a dark line. That line there is the stream corridor protection zone. So our disturbance is within that 50 feet between there and there. But again, going back to the disturbance, the majority of the disturbance is tree removal and protection of the construction zone.
Dave, how are you going to drain the stormwater off the road, and where are you going to drain it to?
Storm drain, there's two storm catch basins here, and there are catch basins. Everyone can see this drawing, I'll keep this up. There's two catch basins here. So water will either flow to the west or to the east. Be contained or caught by these catch basins. There's storm piping, storm manhole all flow into the east. Into that bioretention basin number one. Part of that bioretention basin number one is on Highland Park property, and the rest of it is on Edison Township property.
How's the road going to be accessed from Cedar Lane? Because the property starts in the rear, so the frontage is owned by somebody else, correct?
We have their owner's consent to come here, and we're going to have to show for you the formal easement document, which is still being drafted, but we do have a consent from Segme, that warehouse owner, that said we're allowed to make the application. I think your professionals pointed out, hey, we're going to want to see a formal easement document.
And with that, meets and bounds descriptions and plats have already been prepared for both the Rutgers permanent easement and also the Segme permanent easement. So Mr. Carr and his office is working through that. Rutgers, we are told that it should be on their fall board meeting for approval. And then the water company is still working with Segme to work out terms of the permit easement for.
We appreciate, we'd have to show the real property rights, I'm gonna call them. Dave, just to clarify, we're not putting any cars through here, regular, the cars from the folks who work there, they're still gonna come up and down Fairview and Edison. This is for the truck access only.
That is the intent.
Okay.
Unless for some reason, there's an emergency at the plant and Fairview Avenue was closed and personnel had to keep operating the treatment plant, that it could be used as an emergency access.
Okay.
While we're back on the topic of trucks for a second.
Okay.
These trucks that are gonna come and do the loading and the unloading, is there gonna be any period of time, any idling, like on the Highland Park side while this is happening?
So the question is, there will be any idling of trucks on the Highland Park side as they're accessing this gate? The intent is that first swing arm gate, where the trucks would pull up to that truck would all be on the private Segme property. The plan would not to be stage any trucks on Cedar Lane. One truck enters, and then the intent is for the subcontractor supplying the media to stagger their deliveries. They're not going to send out 20 trucks leaving the factory all at once. They likely stagger 2 or 3 of them come, deliver the media, take out the media, and it's over a week process, as Rick said earlier.
We've beaten that to that, but they're coming. There's room for them to. There's room for the truck to come off the public road onto the Segme property.
We purposely located the first swing arm far enough into the proposed access road to allow at least 1.5 trucks to be on that.
So in other words, you guys are stipulating that in fact, during that period of time, once every 6 weeks, that of the 25 trucks for that week, they will be staggered in a way that they will not be idling either on the new access road, the Segme property, or in any place in Highland Park for any period that would be in excess of 10 or 15 minutes.
Correct.
That's an intent, but there are.
No, that's not the intent. That's going to be a condition of approval.
Right, but there are traffic conditions outside the road that change things, and things can get backed up, even if you have planned the best way possible to not have that happen. So we have to understand better how often you would expect that. We often I drive through this area and I find surprising tie-ups all over the place. So we need to consider that with this. These trucks aren't going to be landing from the sky to this road. They're going to be coming from other not well-managed New Jersey roads.
Well, you want to address that, Dave?
I mean, the intent is when they drive up to that first swing arm gate, process to allow them into the plant should be no more than a few minutes. So think about the truck driver pulling up, getting out of his cab, pressing a button. Hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm here from manufacturer X. If your delivery, the operator acknowledges it, allows the arm gate to come up, the operator, truck driver gets back in his truck, drives through. That process is only takes a few minutes. So,
or he's going to call on his cell phone because he knows the guy. But
you're right. At any time, we could stipulate, frankly, all we want, but I can't physically force the manufacturer not to send them all out at once. There's traffic laws, and if you have a truck idling on the side of the road, they'd be free to get ticketed by the Highland Park.
Well, but hold on. I think you can actually. You are the recipient, and I think you can have as part of your contract a stipulation that indicates that you, Mr. Contractor, are not going to issue or send 25 trucks all at 9 o'clock in the morning. You can have a contract stipulation to that. Now, I understand that doesn't necessarily deal with the members' concern during the course of traffic issues and stuff, but you can have a contract stipulation.
That would be the intent, yes.
We're trying to do what's right here. I think you appreciate that. So, the volume, it's not crazy volume, and we can do what we can do, but we understand the concern. There is room for the design to make sure, at least on the road, that there's at least one full slot. And I think that
make it less likely that traffic, as is pointed out, by having your contract, make sure there are more than adequate spaces between every group of, say, 4 trucks.
Yeah. I think practically speaking, I'm not an expert in this area. I go to an office, but the truck driver is going to get to know the security people. And I don't think, they're going to give them a call and they're going to put the gate up. It's not going to take that long. It doesn't seem like it's.
But again, the intent is for the water company to write a stipulation in their subcontract agreement with their vendor to limit the number of trucks that are sent in to deliver media to the plant at the same time. By default, same trucks that are leaving the plant. So that is the water company's intent.
I had a question. It looks like there's a little, on the satellite photo, it looks like there's a little piece of an improved access road with guardrails.
Yeah, so someone asked, I forgot about that.
I did.
Sorry, you asked that. So
I did.
you went out there this past
I
weekend
did.
and you drove up and there's an existing fence there and there's
Yeah.
guardrails on the other side.
And a gravel road.
And then a gravel road after the guardrail, and that gravel road, extends. You can see on this drawing, there's guardrail and asphalt paving on, really on the Edison side, and then it stops and becomes a gravel road till it gets to the water company's property, and that's, maintained by Segme and Rotors. So that's where the guardrails.
You're largely following that gravel road.
Yes, sir, we are.
And will they be guardrails?
There will be guardrails and curves. Guardrails will be designed in accordance with NTUCD, NJDOT standards.
And the soil on the sides will be stabilized.
Soils on the side will be stabilized.
No public, but there's no public on this. This is not any sort of public road.
There's
It's just a
no
corridor.
vehicles, but as one gentleman said, public pedestrian can walk around that, but then he or she would be stopped at the other gate closer to the similar to what's on Fairview.
Dave, one of the professionals asked about the timing for construction and anticipated start date and duration.
Water company is seeking funding from New Jersey Infrastructure, the iBank. Drawings, specifications, and contract documents are in with the iBank for approval. The water company cannot give the job until they have approval from DEP. I have to have all the permits in place. We're expecting that to happen in late this year, so late 2026. If that occurs, we'd be looking to issue a contract order, an award, and a notice to proceed in early 2027. And then we're looking at a contract duration of about 30 months for the entire project.
Okay, there's some targets under federal law, I believe it is.
We're trying to meet the, as Mr. Carr said, the April 2029 compliance date.
Where will the construction traffic come from? Fairview or this new road?
If I was a contractor, I would love it for it to come through the new access road, but the intent is for all the construction traffic to come from Fairview through the existing facility. The water company will have a staging area on the property, on the really at the front of their entrance on Fairview. So the water company in 2024 completed construction of a new ozone facility at the treatment plant, and all construction traffic came from Fairview Avenue. And the intent for this project would be that all construction traffic would also be coming from Fairview Avenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dave, we have customary lighting and other utilities here. Electric along the road. Anything out of the ordinary here?
We have minor electric. Again, the treatment plant is up here, so we'll have electrical conduit running along the access road to the gate on the west side for the swing gate to operate. And then the only other utility will be the storm sewer drains, shown on the drawing pointed out earlier.
No lighting.
There will be lighting. We're looking at a total of 6 light poles, spaced about 100 feet apart. And this road is about 650 feet. So lighting spaced about 100 feet apart. Pole mounted LED lights, photo cells, back shields to shield light from the development to the south of that.
You're expecting deliveries at night?
No, sorry. deliveries would be
Night sky
only be-
compliant,
Excuse me?
night sky compliant.
Lights would be night sky compliant and no deliveries at the nighttime. So going back to the stipulations in the contract between the water company and the GAC media supplier, stipulations would be that also deliveries could only take place between 8 AM and 5 PM, Monday through Friday.
I'm sorry, what, and I missed that, I was writing something. What did you say was the period where the trucks would be arriving at the meeting? What would be maximum period?
Yeah, the water company would write in their subcontract agreement with the media supplier that deliveries would only be allowed 8 AM to 5 PM, Monday through Friday. So no weekends and nothing after 5 PM.
So the lights would really be, you know, on timers or for emergencies.
It's dark at 5 sometimes.
During the winter.
4:30.
Yeah. Or if they change daylight savings time.
So they wouldn't always be on.
No.
No.
Yeah, the intent would be for lights not always to be on.
Dave, anything else that you have? I flipped through your outline here. I think I got most of it.
Talk about light and utilities. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, just to sort of recap, you know, the disturbance is the main issue. We appreciate that fact. The standard is not the higher standard of a variance, but a slightly lower standard of practical difficulties. It does use the hardship language, which is like a C variance, but I think I'm making the argument to you. We've done what we could do here. It's a balancing, Dave, right? To use the existing embankment, take advantage of that, minimize disturbance, but also get the benefits of that secondary access road. Anything to?
And nothing else to add.
Are we going to address the location of the storage shed and what will be stored in the shed?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We always forget about that also a little bit, but, Dave, okay.
Two drawings for that, thanks. Second.
Good point, good point.
Thank you.
I'm gonna put up a figure showing where the existing storage shed is first. This should be in your packet. 005-C-01 overall existing conditions plan dated April 2026. It's gonna be hard to say. Existing storage shed is, if you look at this figure, there's a call out for CDM-11. I don't want to.
Lorelai's helping. Thank you, Laura.
That's
Yeah, we'll have to mark it, I guess, but.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna mark this A2.
Yeah, I apologize. This is a new exhibit?
No, it's the same exhibit he's drawing on.
And this, I think you said this was,
01, the overall. Sheet C01.
I call it 01 rendered.
Okay.
Give it a lovely name with.
01 rendered.
Try it. I'm not sure what happened to it.
Okay.
So I marked up in a green box right next to the word CDM-11. Essentially, that storage shed is a Quonset hut. It's on existing concrete blocks, almost like what you see with store sand and salt for trucks. It's just a plastic shed that sits on top of concrete blocks on the three sides.
Like a dome, like a salt dome?
It's almost like a salt dome.
It's similar to a cylinder.
But it's enclosed on all four sides with a door on one side. Yeah, that door is on the north side.
It's about 1,500 square feet, correct?
So that's where it's currently located. I'm going to show you where it's going to be relocated to. So going back to the overall site plan, 005-C-06. Overall site plan, so April 2026. Not going to mark this up. That's it. That's it.
Thumbs down. So this is, what do you use? This is 01.
There's.
It's got mostly snowplow in it right now.
Yeah, there's no pipe, no,
This is it.
no valves.
I don't know where it's going.
Okay, and why does it have to be moved? And are we meeting the setbacks?
Has to be moved because it's in the way of proposed construction, and we're looking to move it to the bottom left corner of the driveway. Property. I'm not gonna mark it, it's this guy.
Over here from where it is now.
Yeah, we're moving it from.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Currently located over here.
It's currently over there.
And we're moving it to over here. So it's in the way of the, it's in the way of the proposed new driveway within the tree plan.
Somewhere's over here.
Are trees being taken out?
Are trees being taken out for
This
this?
location.
If you go back to the interior plan. Actually, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, it's on the edge.
Yes, the trees are. You can see there's some existing trees on the south side.
It's all in your count.
Excuse me?
All the trees are in your count.
All the trees are the 84 that are being replaced, and the 25 plus some that are being removed. So that's the relocation of the hut.
I have a general question. Sure. Are there any plans for further site development or facility upgrades beyond this?
Brian, you want to?
I'm sorry, just because to get the big picture.
I hear you. I hear you, and I'm now familiar with AI assisted questioning during planning and zoning board meetings.
Wait a minute.
We got it. Okay. More.
So no, there's no more planned development of this lot until the federal government changes their mind and makes you do something else. There's no further planned improvements until the government regulates something else that's required.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I don't know.
We answer to the best of our ability.
Yes, the answer is no.
Okay. I don't have anything further
Any
from
other
Mr.
board
Tanza.
members have any additional questions? Professionals, Eric, Chris? Okay.
Okay, Chairwoman, our next witness is
Just anybody from the public, I don't think
I
there
don't
really
think-
is.
I don't
and
think
all of
there's
us.
public anymore.
The next witness is about 5 minutes. You want to try to do it? And then I'm going to ask Laura if she's okay. You're good? Okay, we'll do that. And then maybe we'll take a couple minutes and then come back for the planner to wrap it up. Does that sound okay?
How you doing?
Good.
How long is the planning gonna take?
20 minutes?
I'll leave it to you.
Okay, let's go with the traffic expert. He's only going to be 5.
Maybe more than 5.
Okay,
I'm
let's see.
sensing a lot of
Whatever it is, I'm
questions already
optimistic. I'm optimistic. We're going to have him sworn.
So do you swear or affirm testimony that you're about to give the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you be kind enough to state your name, spell your last name, and the location of your office?
Sure. John Ray, REA. I'm a principal with McDonough and Ray Associates. We're a traffic engineering firm that has offices in Manasquan and Westfield, New Jersey.
Thank you, sir.
You're
I'm a licensed professional engineer. I've been doing, I have over 50 years' experience in the traffic engineering field, the last 40 of which have been doing consulting work here in the state of New Jersey. Educationally, I have an undergraduate degree in civil engineering from NJIT and a master's in transportation engineering from NYU. And I basically count cars for a living and go to planning and zoning board meetings.
okay, so you've been qualified as an expert on at least a few occasions.
Yes,
At planning and
I've
zoning
testified in
boards.
Highland Park before.
I
It was a while ago.
must say, I've never had you appear before any board that I represent, but I'm certainly familiar with your firm, and I think that your background is certainly.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, John, in preparing, we're okay on the
Yes.
qualifications? Okay, in preparing, you have a few observations. You did a report that we
Yes.
submitted. You heard our chatter about the secondary roads. Can you offer the board the benefit of your opinions based upon your
Sure.
experience?
My firm was integral in the planning and the discussion of how the trucks would approach and depart from the site, knowing how many trucks would be coming. Previous witnesses have testified to the fact that with respect to new trucks, once every 6 weeks, there will be a weekly period when 5 trucks per day will enter and exit the site to bring the media onto the site and off the site. All of that new traffic, and somebody from either the water company or somebody that's with the project can correct me if I'm wrong. It is my understanding that all of the new truck traffic will be routed through Plainfield Avenue, Kilmer Road, and Cedar Lane, will not come through Highland Park. The existing 2 to 3 trucks per day that currently enter, 2 to 3 trucks per week, excuse me, that currently enter and exit the site, they may be using Cedar Lane and Highland Park already, but if they are, it's only going to be during business hours between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. All of the truck restrictions will be obeyed as they're being obeyed today. So the bottom line is, I don't really have a lot to say with respect to the traffic impacts. We did do a traffic study at the intersection of where our driveway, which we're going to share with the Segme warehouse, intersects Cedar Lane, opposite Road 1 on the other side of Cedar Lane. That intersection has all of its movements operating at level of service C or better during peak hours. Level of service C is usually it's pretty good for central New Jersey. And we're going to be adding, once every 6 weeks, we're going to be adding 10 trucks to that intersection, 5 coming in, 5 going out over a business day, which is basically 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you're looking at 1 truck entering the site every 2 hours, 1 truck exiting the site every 2 hours. It's a negligible impact. The intersection has the capacity to handle that traffic. And again, all of that new traffic is going to be routed through Plainfield Avenue, Kilmer Road, and Cedar Lane. It won't be coming through Highland Park.
So there'll be no trucks turning left onto Cedar Lane out of the.
None of the new trucks will be doing that. The 2 to 3 trucks per week that are currently accessing the site, some of those trucks may make the left. Only during business hours, only, when they're permitted to do so between 8 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon.
Are there good sightlines?
Yeah, at that intersection, yes. No issues at that particular intersection.
Mr. Ray.
I'm not sure, maybe your engineer, but is Cedar a county road? It is. The county's going to have a review of this. The county's engineering department is going to check the sight lines out, and there'll be a secondary review by the county. Yes.
So your traffic study, how many hours and how many days?
It was 6:30 to 9 in the morning to capture the morning peak hour, and 3 to 6 in the afternoon on a typical work day.
One day?
One day.
But
the DOT will install a traffic signal on a 1 hour count.
Right,
one day.
But to understand really what's happening there, you have to look at seasons, holidays, much that would be a real traffic study. This is a data point.
I would agree with you if we were looking to get an approval for a large warehouse that was going to generate significantly more traffic, I would probably agree with you. But given the magnitude of what's being proposed here, 5 trucks a day once, every 6 weeks. The industry, the Institute of Transportation Engineers has basically guidelines for when you need a big full traffic study. And essentially that number is 100 additional peak hour trips that are added to an intersection. We're adding 2 peak hour trips.
Right. I do understand that, but unless we're talking about, these are small towns, these are not roads with huge capacity, and they are already overloaded. We regularly have traffic jams on all of those roads, particularly Plainfield Avenue.
I got you.
So I'm not suggesting that you do what you would do if it was 100 times the size, but I am suggesting that this project for our town is worth more than 1 day.
I respectfully disagree. We've done everything in accordance with industry guidelines. Let me just put it in perspective for you. Let me just answer your question to the best of my ability. During peak hours at the intersection of Cedar and Road 1 and our access road, there are over 1,000 vehicles going through the intersection and a lot of truck traffic. We're going to be adding one vehicle to the 1,000 cars and trucks that are going through the intersection during peak hours. Nobody's going to even recognize it or know.
5 a day, that.
Yeah, but that's so.
5 a day, every day for a week.
For a week, but if you think about it, the business hours are essentially 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's basically a 9-hour workday, so you're going to be adding one truck entering every 2 hours, one truck exiting every 2 hours. There already are over 1,000 cars and trucks going through the intersection during peak hours. So just to put it in context.
And you're saying the 5 trucks are not going to be coming together, they're going to be staggered?
Yes. And that's
Was records in session the day that you did the traffic study? Okay, good.
Is there any consideration about school bus drop off and pick up? Because I see school buses on that.
There are we know, I just looked at the traffic counts before, and there are quite a few school buses going through the intersection, but there really aren't any there's no reason for a school bus to stop at this intersection to discharge or pick up. Yeah, down Cedar Lane, but not at this particular intersection.
The carbon media, what's the other destination where they're taking it to and from?
The destination, I would have to punt that probably to Mr. Carr, but my understanding is that all of the new truck trips that are going to bring the media to the site and return the media to wherever it goes, they're going to go through Edison.
I mean, if they're coming off of 287, it's hard to believe they're going to go Mayfield Avenue.
I'm telling you what I've been told, and that's the best I can do. But again, if anything changes, the trucks can only use Cedar Lane in Highland Park between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.
And nobody knows where that facility is?
We don't have that contract yet, so I can't say. Yeah.
That's the best, it's the best answer I can do.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray, you've now been actually been helpful, I think, in the sense that you've defined the fact that during that 6-week, that once per 6-week period, when it was set 20 to 25 trucks, in effect, what you're saying is 5 trucks per day for 5 days. Is that what your understanding is to be? Okay.
Correct.
And you've heard me indicate that I thought it would be reasonable to have a contract indicating that the trucks would be staggered as part of a contractual arrangement. Is that unreasonable based upon your understanding?
Definitely not unreasonable. Certainly at a zoning board level, not unreasonable. And I think my clients agreed to do that. So we agree.
And in fact, it would also be something that when you have 5 trucks per day, which is really 10 trips a day, we understand.
Right, 5 in and 5 out.
Right. It would be more than reasonable to end up having it so that they start off coming in at say 9 o'clock and then an hour later and an hour later, or whatever it would be, so that it's going to be set up in a way that there's a significant lag time between each trucks, so that some of the comments that were of concern by this board with things backing up because of traffic and everything else, that could be accommodated by having that contractual arrangement saying that it be staggered with a significant time in between.
I believe that's very reasonable, and we can accommodate that. Maybe 1 truck entering every 2 hours, and then staggered 1 truck exiting within that 2-hour period that the trucks are entering, 1 will go out.
And lastly, it's been brought up by one of the members about the fact that, well, will the trucks really end up entering Fairview, or will they enter Cedar Lane? It would not be an unreasonable condition in light of the representations based upon your extensive expertise in traffic control to have a condition that indicates that the existing trucks that are currently going through Fairview would be required to continue to do that and would not be authorized to enter on Cedar Lane.
I don't think that's not the intent of the construction of the new road. It is to accommodate the new truck traffic for the media and the existing 2 to 3 trucks that we have come up state.
And therefore, a condition requiring that would not be unreasonable from a traffic safety viewpoint.
to require them to continue to use Fairview?
Yeah.
That was not the intent.
It's not the intent, but
Yeah.
there's no reason we can't do this because they're already going that way.
We can do that? Okay, I think my client just agreed to do that, so there you go.
Very much.
So for the board council, these could be, if the application is approved, these could be binding conditions.
That's why I'm bringing this all up.
Very good.
I'm just not listening to myself talk.
Okay.
John,
Yes.
Dave expressed from an operational standpoint, the desire to have the secondary access. Can you just talk about that a little bit from good traffic engineering practices?
Absolutely. It is always, for an operation like this, it is always advisable to have a second point of access for emergencies in case something happens on Fairview. I think it's extremely important for the plant to have a secondary emergency point of access. This will provide that. Although this is not a residential project, I'll just draw you to the residential site improvement standards. The state of New Jersey requires any single-family subdivision that has more than 25 single-family homes on a particular street, you need a second point of access. So the state recognizes how important the second point of access is for emergency vehicles. And that's one of the reasons why we're providing it as well.
Okay, here, of course, we have critical infrastructure. This is our clean drinking water system.
I think it's very important, but, you know, I think I made my point on the second point of access. It's my understanding that the water company has been trying to get the second point of access for some point in time. And now through the easement with the warehouse property, they're able to do it.
I have a point.
Yes.
Because we're not talking about an emergency road connecting. We're talking about a road that's going to potentially have daily traffic.
Only if something happened on Fairview that limited the, you know, that traffic couldn't enter on Fairview. And I don't know if that's happened, and it really hasn't happened. So we're looking at something that hasn't happened yet, but anything is possible. And having the second point of access would be a viable, you know, way to handle an emergency on Fairview.
But it's not just for emergencies, it's for like daily business.
Oh, yes, yeah, for the trucks, yes, yes,
Just to say that's a distinction.
okay.
In
Yes.
terms of the old versus the new and all, is there any mechanism for determining if this is happening correctly or directing cars or trucks to go where we think they're supposed to go rather than where they choose to go?
Well, I would think one way of making sure that we adhere to what we testified to here tonight is to have the Highland Park Police, you know, enforce the truck restrictions on Cedar to the hours that they're allowed to be on Cedar. That would certainly be one way.
As a practical matter, though, I mean, let's be very frank. Does that mean that there's a condition that a policeman is going to be standing there for 8 hours? The answer is no.
No.
But the fact of the matter is that what I have found in the vast majority of the towns that I represent, the way these things get enforced is the neighbors complain to the zoning officer, and as a result, they then get impacted, and there's a notice of violation, and either the applicant then corrects it, or they go to court. And nobody wants to go to court because frankly, nobody wants to pay for the attorney to do that.
I agree with
Right,
Mr.
Mr.
Tom. I agree with Mr. Thomas. I think if there's an issue, the neighbors are gonna let the police know that there's an issue with trucks going down Cedar at 8 o'clock at night.
Any additional questions from the board? Chris, Eric?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And obviously, there's nobody in the public, so I guess we're good to go.
Chairman, I'm going to take 5. Is that okay?
Okay, with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take
Yep.
a 5-minute break just to stretch.
Laura, do you end up just doing this?
Lorelei?
Yes.
You want me next to you or?
You gonna have me?
Oh,
I'm gonna try this.
Everybody back? Wait. In suits?
yeah, roll back. Everybody was
Four
back.
times. I
Yep.
wasn't counting the chair. Okay, Chairwoman, I'm going to recall Lorelei Totten. This time you understand you're still under oath.
I do.
Okay, you haven't lost your license in the last hour and a half,
No, it's still in good standing.
thankfully. And we talked about the fact that we're inherently beneficial,
Yes.
and that has some special standards. Could you give the board the benefit of your analysis? Talk about what that means to be inherently beneficial, how that leads into the balancing test. With that twist I mentioned, we have a new case from the New Jersey Supreme Court just 2 weeks ago, which sort of twists, give a little added emphasis on the fourth step. If you talk to the board about those issues in light of the variances and the waivers that we have.
So it adjusts the positive criteria a little bit. And you have to do the four-step SECA balancing, and then talk more about it used to be that you didn't have to speak as much about the.
No offense, why don't you go through the 4 steps?
Okay.
For the record, and then.
Yes.
What the positive stuff is, what the negative stuff is, what conditions might be reasonable, and then we go to the new case.
Okay. So are you saying to just tell you the reasons for all the 4, or list of 4 steps first?
I think you can.
Just go through.
Just indicate what the first one
Yes.
is, and then what the reasons are, and then what the second step is, and what the reasons are, et cetera, et cetera. You follow me?
Yeah.
Get right into the SECA balancing.
Get into the
test.
SECA.
Way to identify the positives.
Right. Well, I want
With
to.
enthusiasm.
Yes. Well, I want to first identify the variances and
Oh, that's fine.
waivers that we're
That's fine.
requesting, to get those on the record,
Sure.
make sure that we're in agreement that that's what we're requesting. So the first one is the use variance for the access road, because it's not a specifically permitted use in the ordinance. The second is a use variance for the bioretention basin, because it's an accessory use and there's no principal structures and so on the lots. The third is a D variance for the stream corridor protection overlay zone, because it is a zone and not a design criteria. And in that, there's also the road and the bioretention. The access road is actually, if it is in public interest, it is allowed. The bioretention basin is a prohibited use, even though stormwater outfalls are. There's another item that is brought up in the planner's letter with regard to the lots have no frontage. So technically, the board would need to decide if you need to issue a permit because it has no frontage. And there are 2 tests I have to testify about, which I will do to make the record complete. Then we have 2 bulk variances, one for lot size on lot 12 and one for lot depth on lot 11, 2 of the Rutgers owned lots.
Those are existing, not being changed.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, the lot size is which lot?
Lot 12.
Well,
Those are existing conditions that are
lot 11
unchanged.
is the lot there.
Oh, I apologize. I have them backwards. Lot 11 is the larger lot, but it has a depth variance. And lot 12 is a smaller lot, and it has a lot area variance.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then we also have steep slopes exception, which is a design waiver. And we already discussed the waivers of checklist submission items. So those 6 items, yes, those 6 items are what I want to discuss. I wanted to talk about the positive criteria for all of them at one time. The use variance ones will have the 4-step SECA. The bulk variances are D1s. So I'll talk about the unique conditions of the lots. And then steep slopes is an exception. I just need to describe that. And I think that's the requirements for the positive criteria. So starting with, and I left out the shed. The shed is also a D1. I will talk about the road and shed together. So the access road and the shed are not permitted principal uses. So they're a D1. It's a public utility is the reason why we have these roads. So these D1 variances, these items take on the characteristics of the main part of the project, which is an inherently beneficial use because we are taking water, providing it to the population, and we're making that water as clean as possible. And we're adding this new treatment system in accordance with new regulations, which I learned something new tonight. It doesn't just take out PFAS, it's probably going to make it smell better and taste better as well because it's the carbon activated, right, which I never knew until we were talking about it. Learn something new every night, right? So SEGA step 1 is the public interest at stake. So in both cases, the compliance with the mandatory NJDEP federal PFAS drinking water standard at a facility serving 12 communities is definitely a public interest at stake, because if the water is not clean, those people will get sick. So that's public interest. The second step is the potential detrimental effects. There is a slight increase in traffic on the, it's actually coming across the roadway, and then when it gets to very close to Highland Park, where it connects with Cedar Lane, there's an incremental effect on the residential character of the zoning where those apartments are that we have to take into consideration. There's the environmentally sensitive character of the lots where we have the stream corridor, the Mills Creek running through, its associated wetlands, floodplains, and overlay stream corridor. But I don't really see any detrimental effects for the shed. It's a building, it complies with all of the setbacks on the site. The third SEGA step is to reduce these detrimental effects through conditions. The roadway alignment itself, you heard a lot of testimony about how it's following the exact alignment of the existing access road, and that they're matching the width as much as possible with the existing access road, and they're not trying to design a new road that parallels that and has a new stream crossing. So that is all going to balance the detrimental effects.
Lorelei, there were a series of conditions we agreed to along the way that also mitigates to a degree some of the detrimental effects.
Yes, the routing, that is going to be part of the record, as well as the number of trucks that are coming through, and the other conditions that were discussed previously by everybody is also the staggering of the trucks, guide rail, keep the trucks from going off the road, the replacement of the trees to replace the buffer that's there along the sides of the roads, the stormwater and erosion control measures that are taking place to protect the steep slopes, and the stormwater to gather the stormwater and treat it for water quality, control the rate at which it enters the stream. All of this is done to offset the SEGA step 2 potential detrimental effects. The shed itself meets all setbacks. It's also a lot of the trees that are being planted as a result of the tree removal to mitigate that are being planted so that the shed is actually behind those, are facing, so the further lots wouldn't be able to see the shed that's on Highland Park. The fourth step, which is amended by the Monarch Communities action that recently took place, is to affirmatively show that the variance will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance, which is separate from the balancing act we just discussed. So the borough's own zoning ordinance recognizes public utility facilities as a conditional use in both the RMG zone and the SC zone. So it's this direct ordinance level evidence that the zone plan does not categorically exclude this category of use from these zones. So with this, for such a unique situation where the lot is part of the treatment plant and the shed and road are accessories just across the border into a different town, is a very unique situation. It's not imaginable, at least for me, to see how somebody could have foreseen that somebody might want an access road on a lot, because usually an access road goes with a building, which would be a permitted use. So that I don't think that oversight, it's not really an oversight, it's just something that wasn't imagined, it does not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone and the zone plan.
It's like when Highland Park did its master plan, there's no way they would have ever really considered something like the application that's in front of the board tonight.
Right, it's just not a normal circumstance to have a road or a parking lot or anything like that on a lot, because it's an accessory use. And this is even more interesting because the main use is in a different town. So if it was in the same town, they'd be able to put the lots together, consolidate them, and they'd be on the same lot. In this case, it's not feasible to do that.
In any case, there is actually some recognition in the ordinance, because public utilities, broadly are listed as a conditional use in those two zones.
Correct. Yes. The bioretention basin, like the road, is not a permitted accessory use, but it's also an entirely new use. The property where it's located, Highland Park property, is particularly suited for the access drive because of where, or for the road, because of where it's located. Water doesn't flow down, uphill. So you have to have your basins go downhill from where you want to collect the water and where you want to put it in. Otherwise, you're running into pumps, which is not natural, and they break. So with regard to the SECA balancing on this, I could go through it again, but it's really almost exactly the same as it was for the road. I will repeat myself if you like. Okay, thank you. So then moving on to the stream corridor protection overlay zone. This is a D variance. It's not as clear what type of D it is, so I'm going to treat it as a D1 because that requires the most proofs on the record. So the stream corridor overlay protection zone prohibits new construction of buildings, retaining walls, and any other impervious surface not in public interest. And I would have to put forth to you that this is in the public interest to create this road, and the best location does go through a stream corridor overlay protection area, because if they didn't have this road, and you heard the testimony, it hasn't happened yet, but there could be a fire at one of those houses over on Fairview, and nobody could get in, the operators couldn't get in, and it's a 24-hour business to keep our water clean so we can drink it safely. So I would put to you that it's not allowed, but it is because it's in the public interest. And the access road involves only a minimal widening of an already existing gravel corridor, only where needed. It directly serves the public water utility function undergoing the treatment increase. So, let's see, just lost my train of thought, sorry. All right. However, the bioretention basin is prohibited and it's a new use. But, so again, I'm going to treat that as a D1 variance. And it's required for all the same reasons that I said that it was required as a D1 variance under the ordinance. This is under the stream corridor ordinance. So it's all the same, except that I want to add that the overlay zone does recognize that stormwater is a necessity and that the head walls are permitted where they're designed to minimize impacts, as has this stormwater facility. The conservation easement, your ordinance requires conservation easements around these, and they will be provided with the caveat that because the bioretention basin needs to be inspected on a regular basis and may require some repair or some maintenance from time to time. Most conservation easements don't allow that. This one, I hope the board will see it to allow that maintenance that keeps it operating properly. Next, we move on to the C variances, the lot area for lot 12, the lot depth for lot 11. This is a C1 hardship. These, which it can be either exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape, topography, or other extraordinary site condition. And I would say that this is an extraordinary site condition in that the two lots are not owned by the applicant. The applicant is getting an easement in the process of finalizing the easement through these properties. And so the applicant doesn't have the control to put these two as one. That would be up to Rutgers. So that's I find that to be an extraordinary site condition when you add in that is the only reasonable place to put the access road as well, because you're following a disturbed area already.
Okay, and those lot size deficiencies, those are not being changed.
Correct.
We're not. So those are really existing conditions
They
that are
absolutely are.
unchanged.
And they're not, the lot size is not being made smaller because this is a private road. It's not a public road that would be put in a right of way, which would reduce the lot area. So these lot areas are not being diminished, or the depth is not being diminished by the construction of this road as well. And this is a property is uniquely suited and appropriate for the location of the road because of the existing railroad spur. Finally, not quite finally, almost finally, it's steep slopes exception, which is a design waiver. And you heard a lot of testimony about why the steep slopes are being disturbed, where they are, what type of disturbance it is, and how it was mitigated by providing minimal widening, by providing soil erosion and sediment control standards to stabilize the banks. And a lot of, in the steepest area of the slopes, you heard that it's really not regrading, but it is planting of trees and removal of trees to allow for the construction of, or the modification of the existing road to be a road that trucks can travel. And finally, it's the steep slopes are man-made in a lot of these areas because it's the embankment that was built for the railroad. So it's not natural steep slopes like on the side of a hill or a mountain or something like that, that's trying to be preserved here. And finally, I'd like to add that the Environmental Commission has recommended granting these exceptions. With regard to having no frontage for these two lots, there's two items that I have to explain to you that would allow you to approve this, and that is the practical difficulty or hardship in enforcing the street frontage. Well, the lots in front of this property have apartments on them. So there's not a viable way to get frontage for these lots. However, the water company's done a great job in finding another access through to an existing driveway onto Cedar Lane. So I think that's a very unique situation, and it's because of the location of the lots and the location of municipal border, and that we have easements over the Rutgers lots.
Lorelei, isn't the purpose of that section of the MLUL to make sure fire trucks and emergency vehicles can get into a property? And by building the road, we're actually providing better means of emergency ingress and egress to the main plant in Edison?
Yes, that's point 2.
Okay.
That's point 2. Point 2 is that the roadway now does provide adequate firefighting and other emergency vehicles. And it also does not interfere with any future street layout. I was not able, when I reviewed the master plan circulation plan element, to find that there was a future road that would go through this area. So it's not interfering with any of that. So I feel that we've met the 2 criteria that would allow the board to grant I don't know whether it says permit, that's the way it's written in the ordinance, but grant approval to allow
We
that.
generally refer to it as a planning variance. I think that's a euphemistic term, but that's what I'll call it in the resolution.
So, that's all the positive criteria for all of those above. The negative criteria is the reconciliation of the zone in the ordinance. So we have to look at 2 different items for Medici. One is no substantial detriment to the public good, and 2 is no substantial impairment of the intent and purpose of the master plan and the zoning ordinance. So I'm going to group the roadway, the basin, and the shed together. No substantial detriment to the public good. So there's no new use characterization introduced into these neighborhoods. If this was being developed in accordance with the ordinances, there would be a road there of some sort, an access road. So it's not new. The improvement is a roadway and stormwater facility and a shed. It's not an intensification of a use. The only structure that's affected is that single-story shed that's going to be moved from Edison over to Highland Park and put in a corner of the property where it's got the northeast quarter on one side and some trees being planted on the other side, with actually probably more direct access to the road system internal to Edison for using their plows and so on. If there were a building on the site, there would be no use variance for this. You heard about the visual, the noise, and the traffic impacts, that they're limited, that there's controls being put in place to control these, such as all the staggering and the other controls that you discussed previously, as well as so that controls the noise. And then the visual, you heard testimony with regard to the lights and how they're going to be dark sky on the top and shields on the side to protect, so that the light doesn't go too far off the roadway, and that they're not going to be lit all the time. You also heard testimony with regard to the existing vegetation, that where it's coming down is being replaced. And again, restating control truck operations with the use of the arms and the gates and the electronic devices and the internal lighting, traffic lighting that they're using with their 24-hour personnel to control who can come and go in vehicles along this roadway. So no substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the one more point is that the access is off of Cedar Lane, and as you heard from the testimony, with the number of cars that go through that intersection, that driveway, this is a very minimal increase in the number of vehicles that will be using this road. So it's very, very small. 1 in 1,000, I guess, during the peak hour, I believe, was what the testimony was. So with regard to no substantial impairment of the intent and purpose of the master plan and zone ordinance, again, the ordinances recognizes public utilities as a conditional use in both of these zones. So as a principal basis, I can conclude that the roadway use variance will not substantially impair the intent of the zone plan, because the roadway and the basin and the shed are all related to the utility, the water utility use. So and again, if it was being developed under the ordinance itself or the zone it's in, you might have a shed and you would you would definitely have stormwater management facilities as well as some kind of road access. Finally, the stream corridor overlay D variance, there's no substantial detriment to the public good. Again, we need to talk about as well as no substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone.
Can I
and
ask
master
one
plan.
second? Do all of the things that you just said, the D variances apply to the C variances in terms of the negative criteria?
The negative criteria for the C variances is more of a balancing, but yes, they do.
And then there really is no positive and negative criteria as it relates to the what I call the planning variance, section 36.
Correct.
And you've already explained the issue in terms of the section 30, or the section 51 exception in terms of what's been going on in relation to the unique status of this particular application, which has been testified to by the previous other witnesses. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
Is there anything further that you need to add in relation to your testimony regarding the planning variance, or the variances at large for the application in relation to preliminary final major site plan?
I think everything else that I have in my notes is essentially repeating everything I've already said in terms of the master plan and the land use objectives, as well as the plan's conservation, open space. I've already said those things, not specifically. So I could sum up if you would like me to do
I
that.
think they're okay without a sum up.
Okay.
Unless the board members have any.
I was just going to say, I think you can grant these.
Unless the board members have any questions of the witness, yes.
I think you missed the piece of also the criteria. The northeast corridor, the tracks there, besides all the commuters, carries some really hazardous stuff. And the road would provide more access to emergency personnel. God forbid we needed to be there.
That is a very good point. Thank you very much.
And that's why we have a very sophisticated board.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your testimony. And again, just for the record, there's nobody in the public that has any questions.
Chairwoman, I don't have a summation. We appreciate you spending the night with us. We do need the 5 affirmative votes. You appreciate it. And I think the board appreciates the expense, the planning, the hundreds of millions of dollars into the project. So I'm just going to ask if the board has any concerns that are not yet addressed, because I think we're prepared to go to a vote. If the board has any concerns, please let us know, during the deliberation phase, so that we can either address them tonight or have a chance. I really don't want to be in a situation, if we can help it, where, somebody, you vote and then somebody says this wasn't fully addressed, because we really want to get all the information we can to you. You appreciate this is a large application and we need the 5 votes and there's federal deadlines to meet. So we're asking the board members to have more concerns. Please let us know. We'll do our best to address them either tonight or if we had to come back. So we thank you for your time.
Any members of the board have any additional questions or concerns you want to raise?
I have just 2 concerns. One is that the road is only used in case of emergencies for additional use, not merely out of convenience. And that any of the trees that they replant in a year's time, if they don't make it, that they're replaced.
Well, yeah, that is a condition, and it's not even within a year's time. My position is that when you have a landscaping condition, there's a lot of people that end up saying, well, you have to have a landscaper's guarantee, which I originally thought was a 2-year guarantee. I think it's really a 1-year guarantee. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me. My position, from a legal viewpoint, I think it's justifiable, is that when you have a condition that says you have landscaping, i.e. in this particular case, the planting of trees, if they die within the first 5 weeks or 5 years, they need to be replaced because that's part of the condition of the approval. So I think that's taken into account.
Thank you.
And then you said something about the emergency.
The emergency road, I'm concerned that it will be used more out of convenience.
Okay.
than
It's not an emergency road if you're talking about
Well,
the Cedar Lane.
The new access road.
Okay, the new access road.
It's supposedly only gonna be used for.
And when you
the
say
trucks
that, that's
from
in
the park.
terms of,
Other
car
trucks,
traffic as
car
opposed to the
traffic,
truck
other
traffic.
truck traffic, deliveries.
Right, and I've already,
Whatever they may need there.
and one of the conditions that I intend to include is on page 6 of my notes, which has to do with the fact that there will be no cars that'll be utilizing the new road, which is whatever it's going to be designated, I'll designate it as Cedar Lane, unless there is a substantial emergency.
You know, I appreciate if there's a fire on
Sure.
Hillcrest Avenue, but you know, if traffic is bad on Plainfield Avenue.
That's a
I'll be
different
surprised.
issue. That's not an emergency. And in an F, but it's not an emergency.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, what may help with Rob's concerns are, how many employees are at a site on a given day?
If you know. Well, I guess you would know.
Come on back up.
right.
You're still under oath.
Well, it speaks
Yeah, come on up
it speaks
closer
to
so
that,
we can turn the
it speaks to the traffic.
I think you appreciate, this is not an employee entrance.
Understood.
That's not changed. Dave, you're still under oath.
I'm not Dave, but that's okay.
Up. Late at night. Brian.
Yes.
Hey, Bob. You look alike.
The, currently the day shift has about 35 employees. Night shift is less than half of that. So you're talking about 35 cars in the day and probably 10 to 15 in the evenings, nights.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Thank you, Brian.
Anybody else? Good.
It's the same point I alluded to earlier, but I feel like the argument here relies on an imagined future emergency. And that's the rationale behind why you need this road, but this is not building for an emergency. This is not or as you said, there's no intent for intensification of use, but there is. You're building a road for daily use of normal business. And I feel like I haven't heard, I guess, like a justification for why, like the other entrance isn't usable for that and for like the necessity of this.
I think it's both, if I.
With all due respect, maybe Mr. Ray can testify a little bit further in terms of his opinion concerning the need for dual access in the event that there's a interference with an individual access that is currently the situation.
I'll do my best. I know it's not in Highland Park, but Edison is a neighboring community, and right now, if we were to continue to use Fairview, we would have those additional trucks taking the media in and the media out, going down a residential street with about 40 single-family homes. So the rationale for the new truck access essentially is that's a big part of it. The second part of the equation is wanting to be friendly to Highland Park. We're here, we need an approval from both municipalities. The client has offered to have all the new truck traffic come in from Plainfield and Kilmer. We can make that part of the, condition of approval. We don't want to impact the apartments on Cedar Lane and Highland Park, and we've agreed to have all that traffic come in through Edison on main roads, not down Fairview, but on more main roads such as, Kilmer and Cedar, roads that can handle that traffic. There are a lot of warehouses on these roads, the post office, motor vehicle commission. These roads are capable of handling the small incremental increase in truck traffic. But one of the primary concerns was to, have a little bit of respect for the 40 single-family homes that are on Fairview and Edison. That's basically it.
Just out of curiosity, what is your opinion with regard to a single entrance access in terms of, is that a safe situation, or is it safer to end up having what amounts to a loop arrangement? So you end up having two access in the event of the closure of one of those, of the original access.
It's always advisable to try to have 2 points of access to a property. And as I said, although it's not a residential project, the residential site improvement standards in the state are very strict with respect to when you need a second point of access. for emergency vehicles. They take it very seriously. And again, although this is not a residential project, the same, thing applies in my opinion, is that there are people working here and, God forbid there was a fire on Fairview and somebody had a health issue at the plant, you want to be able to get in there.
So respect, it's a different community,
sense.
but the new trucks are coming in there because it's gonna be
It's not going
built
to
where
affect,
we could get them off of Fairview. We can minimize the burden
right.
of the folks on Fairview by the second.
So, and
degree.
based on the fact that we've agreed to have the existing truck traffic that's there now continue to use Fairview, there shouldn't be any, measurable impact at all on Cedar or through Highland Park. There shouldn't be any measurable impact.
So we can benefit Fairview and, move it to the other access. We don't see much of a burden in Highland Park. We're not saying zero, but very minimal on the residents of Highland Park, but being respectful of the people who live on Fairview. That's our argument to you.
That's all.
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Okay, as has previously been said any number of times, this is an inherently beneficial use. Excuse me. And therefore, their positive criteria, in my estimation, has been satisfied through that process. The SECA test is with regard to how you deal with the negative criteria. And that's the SECA balancing test, which has already been testified to in great measure. There's also the other variances, and by the way, there's the D variances as it relates to the road, the bio retention basin, stream corridor, and the shed. There's also the section 36, which is the one that there's no access, no frontage. That's based upon whether or not there's an unusual circumstance, extraordinary circumstance, and whether or not there's adequate access for emergency vehicles such as fire and ambulance. There's also the C variances with regard to size and depth. We've heard the testimony is really somewhat duplicitous between the positive and negative criteria for the C variances. There is some case law that suggests that when you end up having D variances, when you are dealing with a use that is not permitted in the zone, the C variances generally don't apply, and quite frankly, they get subsumed into the D variance, because by definition, what happens is that if you have a use that's not otherwise permitted, the bulk standards don't generally apply because it's not applying to that use, and therefore, if you can satisfy the standards for the use variance, there is the C variances are subsumed into that. Many applicants, as this applicant has done, says that's true, but on the other hand, I'm willing to end up saying why the C variances apply. So that's what they've done. The slope exception is one of I guess it's extraordinary circumstances in the sense that is there a significant deviation from the ordinance standard? What they testified to is that by utilizing the existing, I guess it's a road bed, I'll call it a road bed, that the existing road bed is the least intrusive for purposes of disturbance of the steep slopes, because any other area would require more disturbance, which by definition, if you have fallow land, you're going to end up requiring more disturbance just by requiring the new road. This is already a roadway that already has a dam, and therefore there becomes less disturbance in regard to that road. They put in guardrails, they put in drainage facilities. If you find that those are reasonable mitigating measures in regard to any negative criteria, that sounds to me like if you find that to be the case, that's sufficient justification for the grant of a Section 51 exception. That having been said, You've already heard that when you end up dealing with the SEQA variance or the SEQA criteria, you end up having to deal with conditions. And I think that there's a number of conditions that I have found. There may be others that I have missed, and if there are, feel free to add them to the list. I've indicated that, excuse me, that when you end up having the number of trucks that either 5 a day or 5 days, once every 6 weeks, which is what I think is really the standard that you're talking about. There should be a condition that indicates that they ought to be 5 a day, 5 days a week, and that they ought to be staggered in a reasonable manner, whether that's 1 every 2 hours or 1 every hour and a half. I'll defer that, and I'll have some discussion with my colleagues in terms of what's a reasonable amount, so that we can put that condition in, so that there's not going to be the concern that's been raised by some of the board members with backup traffic and the unforeseeable situation that has been raised over here about who knows what's going to happen with traffic that's outside the immediate area. So I think that's an important condition. There's also been the suggestion, excuse me, I can't put my glasses up, I can't read my writing half the time, that the applicant would be required in regard to the issue of stormwater and stormwater management control, that they are saying, and there is a stipulation, I think they have to, there's no question in my mind, they have to go before the appropriate board in Edison, but there's a stipulation that they go before the appropriate board in Edison to get the approval for the overall project, and in particular as it relates to Highland Park, that in fact they end up having a review by the appropriate consultants for Edison regarding the stormwater management. Once that has occurred, that will then be the subject of a compliance plan that will be submitted by the applicant to your board consultants for their review and concurrence and/or modification as they deem necessary. There would also be the requirement that they ultimately provide to your consultants an appropriate easement. And I apologize, I know you said that the warehouse name
SEGME, SEGME.
That there'd be a requirement that there is authorization to utilize the property for SEGME, and that there be an easement that would be reviewed by your consultants to assure that that's an adequate easement. There would also be a requirement, as was stated over on the other side, that there would be no cars utilizing the new, and again, I'm referring to it as the Cedar Lane, the new Cedar Lane access. There'd be no cars that would be authorized to access that, with the exception of significant emergency needs. That there would also be, excuse me, and I say this, but I say that for that period of time, you had the 20 to 25 cars, that they be required to have them on the 5 trucks per day, and that they be staggered in a manner that will require that stipulation. And that there should further be a stipulation in the contract to assure that that will actually occur. Further, that there would be that all construction traffic for the construction that is 98%, I guess, whatever that limited movement of the shed, will all come through the Fairview Road access and not through the new access. With regard to lighting, the lighting will be, excuse me, available for the trucks between the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That it will be night sky compliant, that it will be concealed source lighting, and that the lights will only be on as necessary during dark or evening hours. There are other conditions that would include that that what I already said is all existing traffic that currently goes through the Fairfield will continue to go through the Fairfield. And there's the easement, which I've already talked about. If there's any other conditions that the board members found out about or think about that I have not included, I'm happy to include them together with the comments that have been made as conditions of approval from your consultants reports as it relates not to the issues involving the completeness, that's all we're done with, but any other conditions that the applicants have agreed to as part of the.
So I have a question. To the extent that the applicant doesn't own the property in question, do these restrictions have to somehow connect back to the property owner?
Yes, they've already indicated on the record, and I think I've seen it already, that the area that they're dealing with in terms of whichever the one lot is, it's owned by Rutgers, I forget the lot number. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But, they've already consented to this application, so therefore that consent is already on the, in the record, and therefore there's nothing further that needs to be done. There will be a requirement to end up getting the consent. I don't think there's been a consent with regard to SEGME. And maybe there has
Oh, we
been.
have it, yeah.
Okay, but, so that's already been a situation where they've consented to it, but we still need to have the easement to assure that there will be access across their property. So both of those, and I've already indicated that easement is necessary but to be reviewed by your consultants as part of a condition of approval.
Okay, so everything ties together.
Everything ties together, at least in my opinion. Anybody else have any other conditions or concerns that I have not raised? The other thing that is important, that you have 7 members of the board as a D variance. I'm sure you all know this, as has already been stated. In order to be successful, there is a requirement for a supermajority or 5 affirmative votes. So there are currently 7 of you, 5 of you have to come forward with affirmative votes in order for this application to be approved. The applicant's already asked if there's any other questions or concerns that they can address. If there continues to be any such concerns, one of 2 things can happen. They can continue to raise questions, or if they feel that those questions need to be resolved by some additional investigations, they have the right to request the matter to be held for a further investigation and at a subsequent meeting. So I'm again asking if there's any further concerns or questions that appear to be unresolved in the minds of the board members. With those suggestions as conditions, Madam Chair, I would ask you to solicit a motion, and I always do this, I've done this with this board, I've done it with every board that I represent with the D variance, and I would ask that you end up soliciting a motion to approve the D variance first, because that's unique. The D variances, unless you want me to break them down. And the reason I do that is not because I am in favor, I have no vote, as you all know. I do that because I've had a situation in the past when the resolution was for a negative, and then people were saying, well, if I vote yes, am I voting in favor, am I voting against, blah, blah, blah. It's just so much easier to vote, have a vote, so that it says it is in favor of the D variances. That way you all know, if you vote yes, you're voting in favor of the D variances. If you vote no, you are voting against the D variances. Now, I will raise the question again. If anybody has any concerns on any of the individual D variances, maybe it would be a good idea then to separate them out. The D variances that have already been outlined, they include the road, the biodetention basin, stream corridor, facility, and the shed. So if there's anybody that has any concerns on any one of them, individually, but it's up to the board.
Any concerns?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the D variances.
With all the conditions.
With all the conditions that Mr. Thomas outlined. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Hold on, I gotta put my notes together. Okay, yes, go ahead.
Mr. Fetcher,
Yes.
Mr. Fezzik,
Yes.
Mr. Holzapfel,
Yes.
Ms. Corbett,
I didn't hear you.
Should I go next?
You can if you want.
Well,
She's,
I don't know what to do.
well, there are no rules. You can go, it's not unusual for the chair to go last. but there's no requirement that you go less. If you want to defer your, vote
Doesn't
to,
matter. I vote yes.
okay.
Ms. Walsh?
No.
Ms. Leslie?
Yes.
So we done?
Mr.
Why do I only have
Vice?
six?
No, one more.
I vote yes.
Okay, I was gonna say, I thought we were missing somebody. It's a 6-1 vote. The motion has been, that motion has been passed. We're not done yet, okay? The second motion is, I would suggest that because this motion is for preliminary and final major site plan, I think you can include, I know you can include if you choose to, the variances, the C variances that we've talked about. And again, just for the record, they include the lot size variance and the lot depth variances for the 2 lots. We can also include the slope exception, which we've already talked about extensively, as well as the section 36. I'll call it a planning variance for purposes of the fact that there's no road frontage. Which is based upon the circumstances that there are adequate access for fire and water, and that the circumstances pose an unusual situation, not requiring an access on a public road. So that could be a unified vote because all of them just require a majority of those present tonight. So in this particular case, if 4 votes are in favor of it, all of those matters get included, just so that you understand. So how do you want to do it? Do you want to end up doing it as one more vote, or do you want to break them down in some way or fashion? Hearing none, I'm going to recommend, unless I hear some objections from Mr. Slotnick, to have one vote to approve the preliminary and final major site plan, the 2 C variances, the slope exception, and the section 36 planning variance. I would ask again for the same reason that you solicit, Madam Chair, a motion in favor of that for the same reasons. That way you know what you're voting for. If you vote in favor, you're voting in favor of all of those. If you vote no, you're voting against them.
Do I have a motion in favor?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
No, second.
Mr. Factor?
Yes.
Mr. Pheasant?
Yes.
Mr. Holzapfel?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh? Ms. Leslie?
Yes.
Mr. Vining?
Yes.
Ms. Corbin?
Yes.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate your time. Resolution next month-ish, if you meet in August.
Next month.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
I found something.
Why don't we put those on?
Do you keep the boards?
I don't, no, we don't need those because they're all part of